The year is 784. All the gods of destruction, gods of creation, and angels are summoned to the meeting in the Grand Zenos Palace. The Zenos are apparently very excited and anxious, which causes curiosity in the gods. Once all the deities are present, Daishinkan thanks all of them for their presence. Beerus, very curious, asks the high priest for the reason for them sudden meeting. Daishinkan explains, "Since the last tournament of power, all the gods have been very impressed by the incredible power of the Super Dragon Balls." And then a question started to be asked. Why do the Super Dragon Balls need to be in Universe 6 and 7? Why are only the gods of these universes privileged to have such powerful relics on their territory? This situation caused many doubts, protested, and complaints among all the gods. Beerus, very angry, says, addressing the other gods, "I knew this would happen. You are all envious." But Quintella immediately replies, "Of course, an idiot god that neither you can nor deserves to have these precious relics in your universe, and neither does Champa. There are gods far more qualified than you to take care of the orbs." Champa joins in the discussion and says, "And you think you're worthy of something, Quintella? Your universe isn't doing too well either. What makes you think you're better than me and Beerus at guarding the orbs?" At this point, Jin, enjoying Champa's questioning, agrees. Champa is right. In that case, we should leave the orbs in a universe ruled by a god who has an extremely exemplary job. "I don't want to brag, but I think I'm the best suited for the role," said Jin. But Likir protests. Likir says, "And why does it have to be you, Jin? You weren't the only one who was above the mortal average." But Daishinkan scolds the gods, saying, "Gentlemen, please don't be rude of having the almighty Zeno witness such futile discussions." After these words from Daishinkan, the gods calm down and shut up, fearing that the Zenos would punish them in some way. After that, Daishinkan goes on to explain the situation. "Ever since these complaints from the gods started, the Zenos and I have been thinking of a way to deal with this situation as fairly as possible. The great Zeno loved the experience of the last tournament of power, and he has been very much looking forward to the next competition. Taking all this into consideration, we decided to hold a new tournament of power. But this time, the winner of the tournament will not only have the right to have a wish granted by the Dragon Balls, but the winning universe will have the orbs from now on." All the gods are extremely worried upon hearing that, and many doubts arise among them. The first to ask a question is Vermoth, and he asks if again all universes are at risk of being erased. But Daishinkan explains that no, this time the universes will not be erased. The only thing that will happen to the losing universe is that won't be able to have the Super Dragon Balls. However, there are still some ways for the universe to be erased during this tournament, and this will happen if a universe refuses to participate in the competition. And also if any participant in the universe withdraws in the middle of the competition. Those are the only two ways a universe can be erased during this new tournament of power. After hearing the information, the gods calm down. Theoretically, it's a competition where there's nothing to lose, only to gain. They may have a chance to have the Super Dragon Balls, and if they lose, there will be no punishment. Looks good. But not for Beerus and Champa, who are very angry about it. They already have the Super Dragon Balls in their universe, so what do they have to gain from this competition? They only have to lose. But of course, despite what they thought, neither of them dared to tell the Zenos and Daishinkan. Daishinkan continued to give information, saying, "This tournament will have very different rules from previous tournaments. But we'll explain what's new when all participants are gathered. But what you gods need to know now is that this competition will be held in a different arena, which will be a planet that will be created especially for this event. Unfortunately, at the time of the Tournament of Power, the arena was built, suffered serious damage, and was not able to withstand the power of the participants. So this time I intend to create an even stronger place. For this, I will want the help of all the gods of creation, and together we will work for this place. I estimate this place will take a day to complete, so you have that time to select your participants. But this time each universe won't have 10 participants, only 5. Well, that's the information needed now. The rest of the news will be said before the tournament starts. With the exception of the Supreme Kais, you are all dismissed." Daishinkan makes a movement with his arms, and then all the gods of destruction and angels disappear from that place. Now at Universe 7's Planet of Destruction, the planet is shaking, and several waves of impacts are seen flying across the sky. Goku, Vegeta, and Broly are in the middle of a fight, a triple fight. The three Saiyans fly quickly through the sky, engaging a sequence of blows. Vegeta lands an attack on Goku, but then Broly lands an attack on Vegeta, and then Broly himself is hit by Goku's attack. After landing an attack on Broly, Goku launches a Kamehameha at the bigger Saiyan, who is hit and carried by the energy wave until it hits a mountain on the planet, and soon after a large explosion occurs. Vegeta takes this opportunity to charge Goku with lots of attacks. Goku is cornered by Vegeta's attacks and takes many hits. Vegeta finishes the sequence of attacks by touching his hands to Goku's abdomen and blasting an energy attack at the rival, launching Goku towards the ground. Broly flies towards Vegeta and they fight. Vegeta uses his fighting skills to defend himself and counterattack Broly, who at first is at a disadvantage, but he begins to adapt to Vegeta's fighting style and has the upper hand against the Saiyan Prince. Seeing that he was at a disadvantage, Vegeta transforms into a Super Saiyan and he again has the upper hand on Broly, landing many hits on him. Goku returns to the combat, also transforming into a Super Saiyan, and the three continue exchanging blows, but Broly is at a complete disadvantage. After receiving a lot of hits and getting very frustrated at not being able to touch the two other Saiyans, Broly gets very angry, and they start emanating a strange energy, and his eyes turn yellow. After that, he charges at Goku and Vegeta and starts to hit several attacks on the Super Saiyans. Goku, despite receiving many attacks from Broly, gets very excited and says, "Alright Broly, unleash your power." But Vegeta, unlike Goku, gets very angry after receiving so many attacks. He says, "Don't think you're winning." Vegeta transforms into Super Saiyan 2 and charges at Broly, attacking the larger Saiyan with many attacks. But within seconds, Broly adapts to Vegeta's power and again manages to defend himself and counterattack the Prince, who is thrown far away by a powerful attack from Broly. Goku, extremely excited about Broly's power, says, "Let's see how you handle the next level." Goku concentrates his power and then the entire planet starts to shape as his hair starts to grow. It's Super Saiyan 3! After transforming, Goku restarts the fight with Broly, and just like with Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, Broly starts out at a disadvantage, but he quickly increases his power according to Goku's level, and the two fight at the same level until Vegeta transforms into a Super Saiyan God, yells at them as he prepares his energy attack. Vegeta says, "Don't ignore me, you worms!" Vegeta launches an attack at the two, surprising them both. A massive explosion ensues, and Goku and Broly fall from the sky towards the ground. Vegeta, taking this chance, flies towards Broly and lands many blows on him, finishing with an attack that sends him flying far away. And after that, he goes towards Goku and pushes the rival with many attacks, and ends the sequence of blows, throwing Goku to the ground. Goku complains. Goku says, "Calm down, Vegeta. You don't have to take this so seriously." But the Prince, already transforming into Super Saiyan Blue, replies, "Don't be an idiot. Every fight is serious." Goku stands up, then reverts to his base form to later transform into Super Saiyan Blue as well. After doing so, he says, "Alright then, let's level up." Goku and Vegeta fly towards each other to stop and clash their attacks, after which they begin an intense exchange of super strong and super fast blows. At one point, the two simultaneously land an attack on each other that knocks them both away, and then Vegeta prepares a garlic gun, with Goku preparing a Kamehameha. They fire the attack at the same time and the two energy waves collide. Both attacks remain in the center. The power is equal. Goku yells, "Kaioken, increase 20 times!" At that moment, Goku's Kamehameha quickly advances against Vegeta's garlic gun. But the Prince, seeing that he would be swallowed by Goku's attack, shouts, "You won't win, Kakarot!" Vegeta emanates all the power of the Super Saiyan Blue, switching to the Super Saiyan Blue evolution, and at that moment he knocks the energy away from Goku, and both attacks are equal again. But Vegeta yells, "I'm not done yet!" And the Prince of Saiyans emanates energy again, and this time the blue aura of the Super Saiyan gives way to purple energy. It's Ultra Ego. At that moment, Vegeta's energy wave grows even bigger and goes towards Goku, who immediately activates Ultra Instinct, which again equalizes the energies. After doing so, Goku yells, "Let's find out who's the most powerful, Vegeta." The rival agrees. "Come on, Kakarot!" The two energy waves explode, causing a massive wave of impact and destruction on the planet. But neither is affected by all the exploding power, and they both rush towards each other to clash their attacks. However, they stop when they see a large pillar of energy rising on the horizon, along with a scream that echoes across the planet. It's Broly, who has turned into a Super Saiyan. The legendary warrior comes flying out of his green-colored energy, and then he flies towards Goku and Vegeta. But before reaching the two opponents, Broly stops, and then he goes back to base form, which leaves Goku and Vegeta confused. The three stop the fight. Goku and Vegeta also return to base form. Goku tells Broly that he should keep the transformation, as he won't be able to fight at the same level as they are in base form. But Broly refuses, and he remembers that when he transformed he caused great destruction on Earth, and doesn't want to repeat that. But Vegeta says that the reason he is training is precisely to control his own powers, so he should take the risk. But they are interrupted when Beerus and Whis return to the planet, and Beerus calls them in for an urgent conversation. After a few minutes, Beerus and Whis explain everything to the three Saiyans. Goku is very excited about the news, but Vegeta and Broly, not so much. Vegeta likes the idea of fighting powerful opponents, but he didn't like Zeno and Daishinkan's attitude of erasing the losing universes that time. Okay, the rules will be different now, but even so, he doesn't trust those guys at all. Broly is different. He really doesn't like the idea of having to enter a weird competition to fight a bunch of weird people. But Beerus says that despite their wishes, they need to participate, since if they don't have the required number of participants, Daishinkan and Zeno can understand that Universe 7 is refusing to participate, and then it will be erased. Goku says it will be fun. It'll be great to fight without the responsibility of having the entire universe erased in case he loses. They will literally be able to fight while having a fun. Beerus asks Goku who's going to be the other participants who will compete in the team. Goku thinks for a while, and at that moment, the strongest warriors he can think of are Gohan, Piccolo, and Frieza. Hearing Frieza's name, Vegeta and Broly get angry. Vegeta says that this time they don't need Frieza, but Beerus disagrees. He thinks Frieza did an excellent job in the first Tournament of Power, so he should definitely be called up again. And then he asks Whis to look for Frieza. Whis immediately obeys and takes a good look at his staff, but something strange is happening. Frieza is nowhere in the universe. That surprises everyone, and Vegeta says he's definitely up to something bad. Beerus says they don't have time to be looking for Frieza, so they should immediately head to Earth in search of Gohan and Piccolo. Meanwhile, on planet Earth, Gohan and Piccolo train together in a place far from civilization. Both are in base form and Piccolo is wearing his heavy outfit. Gohan has a big disadvantage during the fight, and Piccolo can easily block and deflect Gohan's attacks, as well as landing good counterattacks on the Saiyan. At one point, Piccolo lands an attack on Gohan that causes him a lot of pain and knocks him away. Gohan is a little frustrated and says, "What humiliation! Even after wearing that heavy outfit, you still have a big advantage over me." But Piccolo replies, "Of course, you again dropped out of training, so your power hasn't grown much. During the fight against the androids, you managed to awaken that new power that made you much more powerful, but the truth is that your base power has not yet increased." Gohan is a little embarrassed and says, "It's true, Mr. Piccolo, but this time it will be different, and I will get stronger." Gohan transforms into a Super Saiyan, then charges at Piccolo. This time his attacks are more accurate, and he even lands a few hits on the Namekian, but Piccolo still has the full advantage, and in that moment lands a blow and sends Gohan violently crashing to the ground. Seeing that form was still not enough, Gohan transforms into Super Saiyan 2 and again attacks Piccolo. At this time, the Namekian is very pressured and is hit by several attacks from Gohan, but at one point, when he was about to be hit by an attack from Gohan, Piccolo surprises the Saiyan by getting rid of the heavy clothing and letting Gohan hit the clothing. After that, he goes to Gohan's back and, increasing the size of his arms, holds the Saiyan and begins to strangle him. While suffocating Gohan, Piccolo scolds the disciple. "What is it, Gohan? That's not all you've got." Gohan at that moment decides to fight seriously, and after concentrating his power, explodes his ki with the aura of the ultimate form, forcing Piccolo's arms to release him. He then charges at his master at high speed and lands several blows on Piccolo, finishing with an attack that launches the Namekian away. After receiving these several blows from Gohan, Piccolo smiles and says, "That's it. Now this fight is starting." Piccolo concentrates his energy, that unleashes his potential, and then the combat resumes, with Piccolo and Gohan fighting at their fullest potential. The impact of the blows causes earthquakes at that location, and the ground begins to crack. At first, Piccolo has the upper hand against Gohan, but seeing that, the Saiyan unleashes even more power, and the ultimate form's aura is now surrounded by lightning. And from that moment on, Gohan has the upper hand, and Piccolo retreats, until the Namekian is thrown to the ground by a blow from Gohan. Piccolo smiles and says, "Very well, Gohan, but my power isn't at the maximum level yet." Piccolo prepares to release more power, perhaps transform, but suddenly a tube of light descends from the sky. It's Whis, who arrives with Beerus, Goku, Vegeta, and Broly. Seeing those who have just arrived, Gohan and Piccolo return to their base form and go talk to them to understand what's going on. After a few minutes, Beerus and Whis explain the situation, and Goku says that they need both of them to fight in this new tournament. Piccolo says that he will always be willing to fight for Earth and the universe. But Gohan is not that excited. He says that although he likes to have returned the training, he didn't want to have to do that. After all, he has other responsibilities. Gohan argues that maybe Majin Buu and Frieza could be good options. Beerus explains that they can't find Frieza anywhere in the universe, and Majin Buu, despite being powerful, doesn't have a very reliable intellect. Piccolo adds that Gohan is currently much stronger than Majin Buu, and is also much stronger than Frieza when they've seen him since the last time. Gohan sighs. He's not happy about it at all. But seeing no other option, he agrees and says that if they need him that much, he'll fight. After hearing this, Beerus is relieved. The Universe 7 team is ready, and this time it was much easier than the last time. Goku is very excited and wonders who will be the chosen warriors from the other universes. Meanwhile, in Universe 6, Hit, the legendary assassin, is following a target, and as he watches the target, a voice begins to speak in his mind. Hit immediately recognizes it. It's Vados' voice. The assassin asks the angel what he wants, and complains that he's in the middle of a job right now. Vados explains to him what's going on, and that he's been selected as one of the participants in the new Tournament of Power. Hit says he can't participate. He has a lot of work to do at the moment, and his schedule is very busy. She should contact him in approximately a year. But Vados insists that the universe needs him, and Champa will pay 10 times the pay for all these jobs combined. Faced with this proposal, Hit is very tempted, and says that everything is fine. He can postpone the other jobs for a day. After the assassin's answer, Vados thanks him and asks him to find her as soon as possible. Ending the conversation with the angel, Hit stops time for a moment and then delivers a killing blow to the target. The target drops dead, and no one around knows why. On planet Sadala, a fight takes place in the mountains. Kale is on the ground watching those who fight, and meanwhile Kaba and Caulifla, transformed into Super Saiyan 2, cross the sky clashing several blows. Both seem to be on the same power level, but Caulifla seems to take the fight more seriously and puts pressure on Kaba. The Saiyan's elite warrior says, "Kaba, Miss Caulifla, I think you're taking this too seriously, it's just training." Caulifla replies, "You idiot, how can you be so calm? It's been years since the Tournament of Power, and we still haven't reached Super Saiyan 3. Goku and Vegeta will laugh at us." After hearing this, Kaba becomes more reflective and then agrees. Kaba says, "You're right. I promised Master Vegeta that I would get stronger. It would be shame if he saw me at this level. Miss Caulifla, let's fight with all our might." But suddenly they stop when they see someone arrive at the scene. It's Champa and Vados. Champa, with a smile on his face, says, "It's good to know you're training because we're going to need it." Meanwhile, in Universe 11, Toppo, Dispo, and General Carceral are on one of the planets in the universe, and around them there are many fallen soldiers. Clearly, a very intense battle took place there. Dispo complains, "Damn, this war was very intense. Even we took many hours to get it over with." General Carceral adds, "I expected that this planet was being used as a battleground for a war that involves two empires that dominates dozens of planets. That is, warriors from dozens of planets were accumulated here to battle. Of course, those who suffered the most are the poor inhabitants of this planet, which have nothing to do with this war, but suffer from foreigners fighting here. But now that we've dealt with the main armies that were fighting here, these warring empires won't be able to fight again anytime soon. And now our next step is to try to convince them to negotiate peace. Anyway, at least the people of this planet will have some peace for now." Toppo, very proud, says, "The Pride Trooper never rests. Let's continue to bring peace and justice to the entire universe." When Toppo says this, they get very excited and do an awkward dance typical of this group. But they all are interrupted when they all receive a telepathic call from Margarita, the angel of Universe 11. Margarita explains the whole situation to them and says that 5 Pride Troopers need to be chosen immediately to participate in a new Tournament of Power. She asks Toppo to select the members who will participate, but obviously he and Jiren need to be in the competition. Toppo agrees but warns that Jiren hasn't shown up for work for a while. He is recluse in some part of the universe that no one else knows where he is. Margarita says that she and Vermont will deal with Jiren. Meanwhile, he selects the other 3 participants. On a completely isolated planet, far from any part of the universe, is Jiren, the most powerful warrior in Universe 11. He's in a meditation position, and he emanates a red aura from his body. Even with his ki controlled, Jiren makes that entire planet shake with the concentration of his power. But he opens his eyes when he notices something, and then looks back, and he sees that Vermont and Marcasita have just arrived on the planet. Vermont greets Jiren. It's been a long time since they last saw each other. He asks what Jiren's been up to. The warrior replies that he's been looking for ways to increase his power, as he discovered some weaknesses during the Tournament of Power. But he can't train in ordinary places, as he raises his ki too much, things can get destroyed. Taking a good look at Jiren, Vermont realizes that he has indeed increases his power, and that's a good thing, because he needs Jiren's power again. And then he explains the whole situation. Jiren says he won't participate this time as he doesn't care where the Super Dragon Balls are. Last time he fought to protect the universe, but now the reason is too futile. Vermont asks Jiren if he still doesn't want to have a wish granted by the Super Dragon Balls. He says no, his thoughts have changed since the last tournament. That is, there's no reason for him to participate this time. But Vermont reminds Jiren that Goku will likely be in the competition, and that the Saiyan loves to fight. If Jiren doesn't go, Goku might think he's a coward and that he's embarrassed by the defeat he suffered the last time. Hearing this, Jiren gets very angry. He's not a coward, and he would never shy away from a fight over such a reason. But Vermont replies that Goku and the others might not think so. Imagine the shame that would be. Jiren, the one who is known as the most powerful mortal who surpasses the might of a god of destruction, and the most powerful and proud warrior in Universe 11, running away from a fight because he lost last time. Jiren is very uncomfortable with that, and worries about his reputation. He accepts to participate, but that's not all. In fact, he really wants to test his new level of power, as well as find out how strong Goku has become. After Jiren agrees to participate in the new Tournament of Power, Vermont is overjoyed and relieved. In Universe 9, Bergamo, Lavender, and Basil were reunited with the god of destruction, Sidra. The three savage warriors have just received the news that they are going to have to participate in the new Tournament of Power, and none of them are exactly happy. Bergamo, with an expression of sadness and shame, says that their participation in the last tournament was a complete shame, and their power compared to the other universes was very low. If they participate again, they're likely to be humiliated yet again. But Sidra says that this time it'll be different, and they have a better chance of winning as they have two surprise participants. Bergamo is curious about that and asks who it is. At that moment, Sidra asks the participants to come closer, and when he sees who it is, Bergamo is in for a big surprise. He just can't believe what he's seeing. The day the Daishinkan gave the universes to prepare was finally over. And then 24 hours later, all participants from all universes were preparing to leave. On planet Earth, Goku said goodbye to Chi-Chi and Goten. As usual, Chi-Chi complains a lot about Goku not staying at home. After all, he spent a lot of time away training, and now that he's back on the planet, he's been away for very little time. Goten has a different opinion. He thinks it's really cool that his father will fight in the tournament, and he says that in the future, he wants to participate too. At Capsule Corporation, Vegeta also says goodbye to his family. He tells Bulma that he will be coming home soon, orders Trunks to protect his mother and sister, and also says goodbye to Bra, who is now a very grumpy child. Gohan also says goodbye to his family. Videl, worried, tells him to be careful in the tournament and not to try too hard, but Gohan tells her to stay calm. This tournament will be much less tense than the last one, and now for the losers who won't have their universes erased, and that means everyone will fight in a more friendly spirit. After saying these things to Videl, he says goodbye to Pan and tells her to try hard at school. But Pan says he also wants to say goodbye to Mr. Piccolo, and asks to go see him too. Gohan smiles and agrees. In another location on the planet is Piccolo's house. The Namekian observes the arsenal of teddy bears in his house and looks at those toys. He smiles, and when Piccolo leaves the house, he sees Gohan, Videl, and Pan. Pan runs to hug the Namekian warrior, who returns the emotional hug. Pan asks Piccolo to promise that he will be careful and that he will also take care of her father. Piccolo agrees but tells her to promise to train hard, and so she does. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo meet, and Goku teleports to take them all to Beerus's planet. On the planet of destruction, Beerus and Whis are eagerly awaiting the warriors who are on Earth. The god of destruction complains. Beerus: "What do these idiots think they're doing? If we're late, the great Zeno might get angry and wipe out the entire universe." While Beerus incessantly complains about the Earth warriors being late, not far away, Broly is with Chilai and Lemmo. He's saying goodbye to his two friends. Chilai is very upset about that situation. Broly is a peaceful man. It's not nice to force him to fight a bunch of thugs from another universe. But Lemmo, to console the woman, says she should worry about these brutes, not Broly. The Saiyan tells them not to worry. He's been training lately and is sure he will fight well. Furthermore, Goku and Vegeta will help him to control himself. But he makes one request. Chilai must have more chocolates to give him when he arrives. The woman promises that yes, she will get the chocolates. Shin, the Supreme Kai, arrives on the planet. He looks exhausted. Beerus is worried and asks what happened, and if anything went wrong. The god of creation says no, he's just too tired. It was really a lot of work to create this new arena. Beerus is curious and asks what this arena is like, and also asks if Shin already knows what these new rules the Daishin Convention will be. But Shin says that he cannot reveal anything, but assures that the new rules are very problematic, and that for the warriors they will even be catastrophic. Beerus is very worried and wonders what the rules are. At that moment, Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo arrive on the planet. Beerus scolds them, saying they're late, and then he calls Broly. They must leave immediately. Broly goes to them with Chilai and Lemmo and asks Shin to leave them on Earth, because there Chilai can get him more chocolate. Shin says that they can go there. After all, it will take less than 10 seconds. After leaving Chilai and Lemmo on planet Earth, Shin took them all to the planet built solely for the new Tournament of Power, Planet Arena, a planet created in the world of Void. This planet is extremely colossal, with a size that would easily surpass 100 large planets. Everyone is amazed to see that planet, and even Beerus says that in so many years of life, he has never seen such a huge planet. Shin, still with a tired expression, says that all 12 Supreme Kais worked tirelessly to build it, and he had the help of the High Priest all along. It took a lot of work, but it was worth it. All the creation gods used their maximum power to make all the matter on that planet as resistant as possible, and even the High Priest collaborated in this. Everything on this planet was at least twice the size of Kachin Kachin, the material used to build the arena of Tournament of Power. And not only that, the planet is also very big. So even if they destroy the scenery, there are plenty of places for them to be destroyed. Seeing the grandeur of the place, Goku gets even more excited to fight. They go to the center of the planet where there is a place where all the gods, angels, and mortals are gathered to talk about the rules of the new tournament. When they arrive at this place, they find that they were the last to arrive, and everyone looks at them, which makes them very uncomfortable. Goku and the other participants on his team take a good look at all the mortals that will participate in the tournament. Basically, everyone is familiar that he has seen in the last tournament. But in Universe 9, something strange was happening. A participant who was not on this universe's team before was now, and seeing this participant, everyone in Universe 7 is in shock. Everyone yells at the same time, "Frieza?" Yes, the Emperor of Universe 7 is now joining the Universe 9 team. Beerus, seeing Frieza, says, "Frieza, you bastard! This is why Whis couldn't find you in our universe. What do you think you're doing?" Frieza, with a fake smile on his face, replies, "Isn't it obvious? I decided to change universes, but I didn't come alone." When Frieza says he didn't move alone, another person approaches, and to everyone's surprise, that person belongs to the same race as Frieza. He introduces this unknown being. "Meet Cooler, my big brother." Seeing this person named Cooler, everyone is very surprised. Does Frieza have an older brother? Where has he been all this time? Is he powerful? The only one not so surprised by this is Vegeta and Beerus, who apparently already knew of the existence of this person named Cooler. The conversation is interrupted when Daishinkan, seeing that all the participants were there now, initiates the final meeting before the tournament begins. The High Priest says, "Thank you all for coming. This is a very special day for the Great Zeno, and it is also a very important event for the 12 universes. The reason for all this is happening, I believe you already know, and you must already know the prize for winning the competition. In that case, now it's time to talk about the new rules, and I ask that you pay close attention. For starters, unlike the last tournament, which was a timed royal battle, this tournament will be different. It will not be a one-stage competition, but a multi-stage competition." At this point, Goku is already very surprised, and asks what the Daishinkan means by multi-stage competition. The High Priest explains that Zeno loved the last Tournament of Power, but back then, he thought that the tournament could have more variety. While it was very nice to watch, it would have been better if the competition didn't have the same rule all the time. With that in mind, they've now decided to make the tournament with many stages, each with different rules and circumstances. That way, the warriors will be tested in many ways, and the entertainment of those who watch will be much greater. Goku likes the idea, although he doesn't quite understand it, so he asks what the stages those will be. But the Daishinkan says that at the appropriate time, they will understand each of these stages. For now, they should understand the first stage, which is already complex enough. Goku is a little upset that he hasn't revealed everything now, but there's no way he can argue, so he just keeps quiet. The High Priest begins to explain. Daishinkan says, "The first stage of this tournament will be a quest for the Dragon Balls. It will be as follows. All of you will receive a Dragon Ball and be transported to some region of this immense planet, and then each of you must return to the center of the planet with 2 orbs. 40 participants will participate in this first stage of the tournament, each with an orb in hand, but in the end only 20 of you will manage to have 2 orbs and will be classified." Goku spoke. "I get it. All we need to do is beat someone, take that person's Dragon Ball, protect our own orb, and bring it to the center of the planet, right? It sounds pretty simple to me." When Goku says that, the Daishinkan smiles and says, "Well then, allow me to make it difficult. What if I told you that the universe teams will be structured in pairs?" This leaves everyone in the place very surprised. Goku asks what the High Priest means by that. The Daishinkan explains that, in fact, the teams that will participate in the first stage of the tournament will not be composed of 5 members, but 10. But this time, the 10 members that will compose of the teams will be participants of 2 universes. In short, each team will be formed by representatives from 2 different universes. Daishinkan also explains that the universes that were paired up are going to be the twin universes. This means that Universe 2 will be a duo of Universe 11, Universe 3 will be a duo of Universe 10, and so on. With this revelation, everyone's opinions are divided. Some like the idea and some don't. Goku definitely likes the idea, and he says to Vegeta, "Hey Vegeta, That means Hit and the other Saiyans are going to be our friends this time. Vegeta from a distance exchanges glances with Kaba. The Universe 6 Saiyan smiles, while the Universe 7 Saiyan keeps his usual grumpy expression. Goku looks at Hit and smiles, but the assassin, like Vegeta, remains serious. Beerus and Champa also exchange glances, but the two quickly look away. Daishinkan begins listing the teams. Daishinkan says, 8 universes will participate in this first phase, and the twin universes will form teams. This means that we will have 4 teams. They are Team 1, Universe 2 and 11, Team 2, Universe 3 and 10, Team 3, Universes 4 and 9, and Team 4, Universes 6 and 7. After that, Daishinkan points his hand up, and then a Dragon Ball appears in front of each participant. They all take the orbs. The High Priest says, "These are decorative orbs, created by myself. These artifacts do not have magical powers. They are just being used as symbols. As I have already explained, each of you will start the competition with an orb, but you must take another orb from another participant and go to the center of the planet to pass to the next stage." Goku looks at his orb and realizes it has 4 stars. He asks Vegeta how many stars his orb has. The prince says it has 4 too. And then he realizes that Gohan, Piccolo, and Broly's orbs have the same number. And then he asks, "Sir, can I ask you a question? Why are our Dragon Balls all 4 stars? The Daishinkan explains, "All those who belong to the same team will have the orbs of the same number. In case you belong to Team 4, just like all the mortals in your universe and Universe 6, that means all of you will have orbs with 4 stars. Team 1 participants, who are the mortals of Universes 2 and 11, all have the orbs with 1 star, and so on." Vegeta asks if the numbering of these orbs will make any difference. Daishinkan praises Vegeta's question. It is indeed a good question, and then he explains, "Yes, the numbering of each orb will make a big difference. For starters, all of you to advance to the next stage need to have an orb with your team number. That is, if you are number 4, you necessarily need a 4-star orb to qualify. But the second orb you obtain cannot have your team's numbering. This is so that no participant betrays an ally at the time of the tournament or simply takes advantage of the elimination of someone from the same team to qualify. That means, to pass, you will need an orb with the number of your team and an orb with the number of another team." Goku starts getting confused. "Now it's starting to get complicated. I don't understand at all," said Goku. But the Daishinkan says that it might be complicated at first, but once he starts, he'll understand quickly. Taking a good look at everyone in that location, Beerus has one question. "High Priest, if I ask a question, I'm not seeing the participants from Universes 1, 5, 8, and 12 here." The Daishinkan explains. "Excellent question, Mr. Beerus. Well, as these 4 universes stand out in comparison to the others, always remaining above average, we decided to give the gods of this universe some advantages over the other universes. Basically, Universe 1, 5, 8, and 12 are already classified for the second stage without having to go through the first stage. Also, these 4 universes gain the advantage of having a participants not mortals. These, the gods of destruction themselves, that is, Iwan, Arak, Likir, and Jin, will represent their own universes in the second stage of the tournament." Upon hearing that information, all the gods and mortals present are completely shocked and desperate. Will the gods of destruction themselves fight mortals? This is absurd. But who would dare say that to the Daishinkan and the Zenos? Nobody. After clarifying all these things, the Daishinkan says, "Now that the rules are explained, let's get started." The Daishinkan raises his hand, and suddenly all the mortals disappear from the place and are scattered across the immense planet. Team 4, made up of the participants from Universe 6 and 7, the teams are sent to a forest. At this point, they can finally talk about what's going on. Goku, still a little confused, says, "I still don't understand all this very well. Everything was explained very quickly." But Vegeta scolds his rival. "Shut up, Kakarot. Nobody has time to explain things to you." Piccolo agrees. Piccolo says, "Vegeta is right. What we have to do now is think about our strategy to win." But Vegeta disagrees. "Strategy? I don't have time for these things. I'll do things my own way. You do what you want." Vegeta flies away. Kaba, worried, says, "Wait, Master Vegeta, we shouldn't be walking around alone." Kaba goes after Vegeta. Hit says, "I also have my stuff to do. See you later." Hit goes away, and Goku yells for him. "Hey, Hit, wait, let's fight a little." Goku goes after the assassin. After that, Piccolo sighs and says, "Damn, these guys are hard-headed. They always act before they think." Caulifla impatiently says, "I agree with them. This strategizing thing is very boring. Kale, let's go find someone to beat up." But when Caulifla looks at Kale, she sees that her friend and Broly are staring at each other. They both look at each other in a way that seems to be hypnotized. Everyone is embarrassed seeing that scene. Caulifla, confused, asks, What's going on with them?" Gohan also watches awkwardly, theorizing, well, I think they're two sides of the same coin, so it should be normal for them to be curious about each other. Piccolo, also embarrassed, says, I understand, but it's weird. Caulifla, without patience, goes to them, takes them both by the arm and says, I don't know what the hell is going on here, but if you guys want to be together, then let's go together. Caulifla flies away carrying Broly and Kale by the arms. Gohan, worried, asks, Mr. Piccolo, should we let Broly go alone with them? He could get out of control, and that girl named Kale is also not very reliable when it comes to controlling her own instincts. Piccolo replies, well, that Caulifla girl knows how to handle Kale. As for Broly, the only one who understands him well are Goku and Vegeta, and they're not here anymore. I don't think we're any better than Caulifla to help him. Guess we'll have to rely on luck for this one. Piccolo looks around and sees that only he, Gohan, and Frost are left. Addressing Frost, the Namekian says, aren't you going to go around like crazy too? Frost replies, no, I think I'll take a smarter approach this time. Piccolo smiles and then says with a tone of irony, who would have thought you, the one I like least in the group, would be the one who would listen to what I say? Frost, with the same tone of irony, says, don't tell me you're hurt from that fight. It's been a long time. Piccolo replies, no, I'm not the type of person to hold a grudge for that sort of thing. Now let's move forward towards the center of the planet. We'll likely encounter enemies on the way, and then we'll get the necessary orbs to advance. Enemies will likely attack as a group, so we need to protect each other. Are you in agreement? Gohan and Frost agree, and then they move forward. Some time passes, and then several explosions happen all over the planet. The participants finally meet, and the battle finally started. Hit is flying through a mountainous region when he looks back and sees that Goku is following him. The assassin from Universe 6 says, I'd rather be alone. Goku asks him, hey Hit, could you fight me? Just a little. I've gotten a lot stronger and would like to measure our power now. Did you get stronger too? Please say yes. Hit refuses, saying, don't be an idiot. We're on the same team. It will be really stupid to spend all our energy fighting each other right now. Goku gets very upset with that answer and says, damn, too bad. I really wanted to fight you. But Goku has another idea, and excitedly he says, Jiren is from another team, so I can look for him. But they stop talking when they notice something. And then three things come out of the rocks and try to attack them with surprise blows, but they dodge. After dodging the first attacks, they see that they're robots that were hidden inside the stones. Missing the first few attacks, the robots surround them, and then Paparoni appears. He was hiding in the rocks. Paparoni, a little frustrated, says, damn it, I was sure our trap was perfect. Goku, not liking this dirty tactic, says that doing that kind of thing was not cool. If they wanted to fight, just ask. But Hit, with a different mindset, praises Paparoni and the robots for the trick. It was a good strategy, and if he and Goku were weaker warriors, they would surely have been defeated. Paparoni is grateful for Hit's praise, but says that one way or another they will win. And then he orders. Paparoni says, Ballaradar, Panchia, and Koitsukai, attack! The three robots head towards Goku and Hit, who take up their fighting stances. Vegeta and Kaba are also flying over a mountainous region, but not the same as Goku and Hit. Kaba follows Vegeta, who is a little annoyed by this. He says to the younger Saiyan, Vegeta says, hey Kaba, I thought I said I wanted to be alone. But Universe 6's Saiyan replies, I'm sorry Mr. Vegeta, but I don't think it's wise for us to be alone. Enemies can attack in large groups, so we need to have someone watch our backs. Seeing that there was no point in arguing, Vegeta ends up giving in, and then says in agreement, alright, but try not to get in my way. Suddenly a laser shoots through the rocks and almost hits Vegeta, who narrowly dodges it. Who fires this attack was Frieza, who flew out of the middle of the rocks, but he's not alone. Cooler is with him. Seeing the enemies, Vegeta gets very angry. Vegeta says, Frieza, you bastard! I already expected all kinds of dirt for you, but why join another universe? Frieza, with a mischievous smile on his face, replies, isn't it obvious? I want to become a god of destruction. That answer surprises Vegeta and Kaba, and then the Emperor explains. Sidra, Universe 9's god of destruction is a true failure. He doesn't have much respect among the gods, as he has the lowest grade among them all. And he's not very strong either. Because of that, I promised him that I would go to Universe 9 and help him plot something against Beerus. My intention was to team up with Cooler and kill him, but then came this excellent opportunity to get the Super Dragon Balls once again. Vegeta looks at Cooler and then says, Cooler, right? I've heard a lot about you. For a long time you were a true terror in our universe. A warrior even more feared than Frieza and Cold. But from what I heard, you were betrayed by them and killed. And that was before I was born. How are you here? Cooler explains, I wasn't dead, just trapped. But Frieza decided to release me and make a deal. Of course I hate him and want to kill him, but because of what he and my father did to me, but what can I say? The advantages of this arrangement were greater than my hatred for Frieza. Frieza interrupts the conversation saying that they've already talked too much. Now it's time to fight. Vegeta agrees and warns Kaba to watch out for them. Kaba says that he already knows what Frieza is capable of. He suffered at the hands of this cursed being in the Tournament of Power, so he certainly won't let his guard down. The four warriors advance towards each other, and intense combat breaks out in those mountains. Broly, Kale, and Caulifla were flying through a forest. Broly and Kale flew side by side, while Caulifla led the way. Looking back to see the two of them, Caulifla sees them both trying to talk. Broly with a shy expression finally says something. He says his name. Kale with the same shy expression also says her name, and that it's a pleasure to meet him. Caulifla, seeing the scene, is a little embarrassed too. She is embarrassed by their lack of social skills, but she is suddenly surprised when Napapa leaps out of the trees and grabs her in midair, taking her into the trees and destroying at least a dozen trees. Broly and Kale are startled by that and stop flying immediately. At that moment, Majikayo and Metihope also jump out of the trees, and while Majikayo raises one of his arms and hits Broly with a punch, Metihope also lands a hit on Kale. That way the Saiyans are separated. Caulifla, after being hit by Napapa's blow, rubs her sore head. After that, she sees the big pink fighter staring at her. The Saiyan girl complains. Caulifla says, "Damn it, you again? I thought I already taught you a lesson in the last tournament." But Napapa says with a very angry expression, "Things won't be like that time. I'm gonna crush you this time." Meanwhile, Kale faces Metihope. She's scared and disgusted by the lobster-faced warrior. Metihope, trying to scare Kale, says, "Hey little girl, this time that friend of yours won't help you. It's just me and you." The lobster man makes very ugly faces which scare Kale, who with great disgust and fear screams for Caulifla. Meanwhile, Broly faces Majikayo and advances to land a blow on his enemy, but Majikayo distorts his own body and counterattacks Broly, who is very confused because of that man's weird ability. Piccolo, Gohan, and Frost are flying through a forest when suddenly Dium, a bird warrior, comes flying up and fires an energy attack on them. To dodge the attack, the three disperse. Taking advantage of this, Lubal jumps up out of the trees and lands an attack on Piccolo, who is thrown against a rock. After doing so, Lubal says, "You were the one who defeated me that time. I'm here for my rematch." Piccolo, after getting up, smiles and says, "Well, some people never learn." Gohan yells for Piccolo and thinks about going to help him, but suddenly twisted images of someone appear before him, and Gohan is hit by an attack. Seeing who it is, Gohan recognizes his opponent. It's Obni, a warrior he faced during the Tournament of Power. Seeing this man, Gohan smiles and says, "It's a pleasure to see him again." Obni smiles too and says he enjoyed fighting him that time and would love to have his rematch. The two fly towards each other to start the fight. Frost, seeing that Gohan and Piccolo were already fighting, turns to Dium. Frost says, "Well, it seems I have no choice but to face the weakest, but at least I won't have so much trouble." Upon hearing these words from the Universe 6 warrior, Dium gets very angry and says he will make him pay for those words. In the mountains, an intense battle takes place between Goku and Hit against the three powerful machines of Universe 3. Panchia, Boletator, and Koitsukai attack the two warriors with all their might. But despite that, Goku and Hit are dealing very well against these three robots. Goku is fighting in Super Saiyan, and Hit clearly isn't using that much power either. In a few moments of fighting, the three robots are already seriously damaged. Seeing this, Goku suggests that they hand over the Dragon Balls and flee to continue fighting at another time. Continuing this fight now makes no sense, but Pepperoni says that this is not all the power of his creations, and so the three robots start a process of fusion. And then Bolerator, Panchia, and Koitsukai become the super robot, Koichia Raider. Goku is very surprised. He had forgotten that they could do that, but then he smiles and says that at least the fight will be more fun that way. But Hit thinks differently. For him, it's all a waste of time. Koichia Raider lunges for the attack and tries to land super strong blows on the Universe 7 and 6 fighters, and also fires a lot of energy attacks at them. Because of the robot's strength, Goku and Hit avoid an exchange of direct hits, but circle the robot, landing many physical attacks and energy attacks, which stun the creature, until the two finally team up and fire two energy attacks at the robot, which also fires an energy attack at them. The energy waves collide, and for a while the attacks are a draw. But Goku increases his power to Super Saiyan 2, while Hit also increases his energy, and thus the two together defeat Koichia Raider's energy, who is swallowed by their attacks and is torn apart. Pepperoni, seeing the triple robot fusion being destroyed like that, screams in despair. Hit goes to his back, and while pointing his hand at him, threatens him, ordering him to hand over the orbs. Each of them had an orb, which means that they had 4. With that, almost half of the team 4 members could advance to the next stage. But then Pepperoni yells that Universe 3 shouldn't be underestimated, and at the moment he makes a gesture that makes Koichia Raider's parts go to him, and so a new fusion begins. Aniraza is born. Goku remembers the trouble this creature caused in the Tournament of Power, and tells Hit that he must be prepared. In another mountainous region, Vegeta and Kaba face Frieza and Cooler. Vegeta fights Golden Frieza in close Saiyan Blue, and they both have a very close fight. Meanwhile, Kaba faces Cooler in Super Saiyan, and the two also have a fierce fight. But even though their power level isn't that different, Cooler seems to have a bit of an advantage, and lands more attacks on Kaba. Frieza's older brother says, "You're a very powerful boy, but you're young and you don't seem to have as much combat experience as I do. This leaves you at a disadvantage." Cooler lands many attacks on Kaba, who after receiving so many hits, decides to transform into Super Saiyan 2, surprising his opponent. And after transforming, Kaba has a lot of advantage and lands a lot of attacks on Cooler, and then he says, "With that difference of power, your experience will not help." But Cooler is very angry by receiving so many blows and says, "You brat, don't think that's all the power of the great Cooler." After saying that, Cooler starts his transformation, and now he has a much wilder and more imposing appearance. The transformation surprises both Kaba and Vegeta. Cooler charges at Kaba, and this time, he fights at the same level as Sadala's Saiyan. While fighting Frieza, Vegeta is distracted by seeing the transformation and receives an attack from Frieza for it. The villain scolds Vegeta, saying that if he pays attention to anything else, he would end up dying. Vegeta asks what that transformation is that Cooler has, and Frieza explains that Cooler, in addition to all the power he had in the base form, had a transformation that increases his power even more. Basically, this form of Cooler is an evolution of their race's base power, just like the Golden form, but it's obviously far from having the power of the Golden form, since Cooler didn't train to get this transformation. This form appeared with the natural evolution of his power. After Frieza explains this, Vegeta deduces that if Cooler was powerful enough to have an extra transformation, that means he's naturally much more powerful than Frieza. Frieza confirms, Cooler is indeed more powerful than he naturally is, and this was the reason he and Cold betrayed Cooler in the past. Obviously now Cooler is still not as strong as he is, as Frieza has evolved a lot with great battles and training. But his older brother has an equally fast evolution ability, and if he goes through the same trainings as Frieza, he will become much more powerful than he is. Vegeta asks if that doesn't worry Frieza. He doesn't seem like the kind of person who would tolerate having someone more powerful around, especially an enemy from the past who wants revenge. Frieza says this is obviously a concern, but for now he has everything under control and will use Cooler for now. But Vegeta says that Frieza's ambition ends now, and he's going to put an end to it. After the Prince of the Saiyans says this, the two fight even more intensely. Meanwhile, Broly, Caulifla, and Kale was fighting against Metihope, Napapa, and Majikayo. Broly tried to land many attacks on Majikayo, but he distorts his body in a way that confuses the Saiyan, and counters Broly with many attacks. In one moment, Majikayo distorts his own body to hold Broly's body, and also to suffocate him. Meanwhile, Metihope attacks Kale, who is scared of the ugly creature next to her. She attacks Metihope in the face, but just like he did in the Tournament of Power, he holds the warrior's hand. But this time, unlike what happened when they fought in the Tournament of Power, Kale is not only scared, but she starts to get very angry with him. And then, for him to release her, she transforms into a Super Saiyan, fending off the Universe 10 warrior while emanating a powerful aura of ki. Metihope, after being pushed away by Kale, returns very angry to punch the Saiyan. But suddenly, all of Kale's muscles grow, and when he lands a punch on her, she doesn't even move, scaring the Lobster warrior greatly. Seeing Kale's terrifying expression with completely white eyes and an expression of madness, Metihope is extremely scared, and then, in a surprising act, begins begging for his life. He takes the Dragon Ball he has, leaves it at Kale's feet, and just runs away. After the warrior leaves, Kale laughs. Actually, she was just pretending she was crazy to scare the opponent. Meanwhile, Caulifla was fighting Napapa. She used Super Saiyan against him, and has the full advantage in the fight. Caulifla lands many attacks on the Pink Man, and while humiliating him with her blow, she says, "You're a disgrace. Your power hasn't grown at all since the Tournament of Power. Back then I had a lot more trouble beating you." Napapa, very angry, yells at her not to underestimate him, and then tries to grab her, but Caulifla doesn't even move, which causes the man to despair. Then she says, "How about I defeat you using the same move I used before?" After saying that, Caulifla lifts Napapa off the ground and then uses a blow that sends him headfirst into the ground, knocking the pigman out. Broly was being strangled by Majikayo, who made fun of the Saiyan. Majikayo says, "From your size, I thought you'd be a bigger challenge, but you're just a weakling." While losing all the oxygen, Broly becomes dizzy and his vision becomes dim. In that moment, he remembers what Goku and Vegeta said to him as they trained on Beerus' planet. He can't be afraid to use his own power. At that moment, Broly begins to concentrate energy, and the power of the Saiyan makes the whole forest tremble and surprises Majikayo, who feels every particle of his body vibrate with that intense energy. And then Broly releases a huge amount of power at once, along with the Super Saiyan's aura, and the legendary warrior's energy makes Majikayo's body completely shatter. After that, Majikayo remakes his body and looks with great fear at the legendary Super Saiyan emanating power. Broly's power was so intense that his opponent was completely paralyzed with fear. The Saiyan opens his mouth and then shoots a powerful wave of energy that upon reaching Majikayo carries him far away. After doing this, Broly fell to his knees. He was losing control. At that moment, Kale and Caulifla approach, and Kale, still in her muscular form, approaches Broly and touching the man's shoulder tells him that she knows how it feels, that hatred and fury seem to have the control. But if he thinks about what brings him comfort, joy, and happiness, he will be able to regain consciousness. And upon hearing this, images of Lemo and Chilai come to Broly's mind. And at the moment, the rage-ridden Saiyan seems to regain consciousness and then returns to his base form. As soon as Broly does this, Kale and Caulifla praise him, and the man thanks the girl who helped him. Piccolo and Bluebolt exchange physical blows. Bluebolt has the upper hand in exchanging punches, but Piccolo uses his other martial arts skills to counter his opponent. As the two exchange blows, Bluebolt comments that Piccolo seems to have improved his martial arts skills. Piccolo also praises his opponent, saying that Bluebolt has clearly trained too, but he won't win this fight. Piccolo steps away from Bluebolt and fires several key balls at him, surrounding the opponent with dozens of key balls, and after doing so, he launches them all at once, causing a huge explosion. But this time, this technique didn't work. Bluebolt defended himself with an energy shield, which surprises Piccolo. After doing so, the Universe 10 warrior leaps towards the Namekian and punches him in the face, sending Piccolo flying. Bluebolt says that obviously he would prepare to defend himself from the technique that defeated him in the last tournament. It is disappointing for him that Piccolo thought he would beat him in the same way, but Piccolo smiles and says that he would never try to beat the same warrior in the same way. And after saying that, he tells Bluebolt to look at the ground. And when the warrior of Universe 10 does so, he sees that he's surrounded by small mines of energy, similar to what Goku did against Jiren. As soon as Bluebolt sees that he's surrounded by these things, he thinks about running away, but it's too late, and Piccolo makes all these tiny little energy mines explode, creating multiple explosions that defeat his opponent. Now Gohan faces Obni, who does everything he can to trick the Earth Saiyan with his After Image ability, but Gohan already knows how to deal with that ability. He lets Obni land an attack, so he knows his real location and counterattacks. Gohan praises his opponent. His punches are stronger and he's resisting the Saiyan's punches better, which means he's really trained a lot. Obni confirms he really trained hard, and this time he will be the victor. As the fight continues, Gohan starts to have a disadvantage, and realizing this, Obni smiles and says, "Did you think you'd beat me the same way again? Last time you found out that receiving an attack from me, you would know my location, and thus be able to counterattack. And also, at that time, you bet on my fatigue, and when I couldn't use my power anymore, you defeated me with a direct attack. But obviously I thought of a way to deal with this tactic of yours. Your counterattack won't work anymore, since now every time I attack, I'm already waiting for your counterattack. So I avoid it. I also trained a lot to strengthen my body and have stronger attacks, so you won't be able to withstand as many attacks from me as before. And lastly, I've also trained my ability to spend less energy while I use it, so you won't be able to use my fatigue to your advantage like last time." While Obni was saying all these things, he hit many attacks on Gohan, who was already starting to get tired and injured. The Saiyan admits, "You've really improved a lot. You're faster, stronger, and tougher. In addition, you're managing to use your special ability much more accurately. You completely destroyed my strategy. I won't be able to win fighting like last time." After hearing these words from Gohan, Obni says, "Don't look so calm. You're finished." The Universe 10 warrior corners Gohan, then lands a blow that would likely defeat the Saiyan. but then Gohan completely disappears from his sight. It was a mirage. When Obni realizes the Universe 7 warrior is already behind him with a Kamehameha prepared, and then he fires the energy wave, completely engulfing the Green Man, who screams in pain and is completely defeated. After that, while Obni is on the ground, Gohan approaches and explains, "I realized that the same strategy as before wouldn't work on you anymore. So I decided to let you gain confidence while using an afterimage to trick you. I figured you wouldn't expect me to use the same technique as you to win, and I took advantage of this surprise to land a definitive blow." After hearing this, Obni smiles and praises Gohan. It was a good strategy. He is completely defeated. After admitting defeat, Obni passes out and Gohan takes the Dragon Ball he carries. Meanwhile, Piccolo and Frost approach. Both have already beaten their opponents. Frost celebrates that they already have the orbs needed to get through, but Piccolo warns that they still have a long way to go to the center of the planet, and that just as important as getting the orbs is keeping these relics. On the way, other opponents will surely try to take the orbs, so they must be prepared. In another region of the planet, Vegeta and Frieza fought very intensely, but Frieza was starting to have an advantage against the Prince of the Saiyans. Vegeta notices that Frieza, during this time that he was away, has increased his powers. Vegeta, annoyed, says, "Damn you, Frieza! Have you increased your powers again?" The villain boasted, "Exactly, my dear Vegeta. While I was with Cooler, I trained my skills with him, and in this way I managed to increase my powers." But it wasn't just Frieza that surprised the Saiyans. Cooler also had an advantage against Kaba, who even in Super Saiyan 2 was getting more and more beaten up by the villain. Until in a moment of the fight, Cooler hits Kaba with a powerful laser released by his eyes. This attack seriously injures Kaba, and in addition to making the Saiyan lose his transformation, it also knocks him down. As Kaba falls, Cooler approaches him and grabs him around the neck, strangling the young Saiyan. Seeing Kaba being suffocated by Cooler, Vegeta immediately transforms into a Super Saiyan Blue evolution, and he takes advantage of the sudden increase in power to surprise Frieza, hitting many attacks on the villain and stunning him. And after doing so, Vegeta approaches Cooler, landing a kick that knocks him away from Kaba. After that, Kaba, lying on the ground, apologizes to Vegeta. He was again too weak and is causing problems for his master. Vegeta says that apologizing won't help. Now all he can do is keep quiet so that the wound doesn't get worse. He will take care of Cooler and Frieza by himself. At that moment, Cooler and Frieza were already side by side. Frieza, smiling, asked Vegeta if he really thinks he can handle the two of them together. Although the Saiyans surprised him with the sudden increase in power from the common blue form to the blue evolution form, the power of his golden form is currently not that different from the power of the blue evolution form. But Vegeta smiles. The Super Saiyan Blue evolution form is no longer his most powerful form. Now he has another transformation that far surpasses the power of the Super Saiyan Blue. If Frieza and Cooler want it, he can show it. But upon hearing this, Frieza becomes more serious and tells Cooler that they better back off. Cooler doesn't like that idea. Why should they back off? Together they can defeat that Saiyan. They trained a lot and increased their powers a lot. They can win. Frieza says that they'll maybe beat Vegeta, even though he's using this supposedly more powerful form. But it's too early to start such a high-level battle. They should avoid using full power for now. So they'd better end this fight for now. Despite not liking the idea that much, Cooler decides to do as Frieza is saying, and they back off. Meanwhile, Goku and Hit are fighting Aniraza, the mighty giant from Universe 3. Aniraza tries to land his powerful attacks on the Universe 6 and 7 warriors, but the two, knowing they can't compete for strength against that Titan, just dodge it while looking for gaps to attack. Aniraza, while trying to land punches and kicks on the two warriors, destroys the entire surrounding area. Goku yells at Hit, "Hit! To win him, we need to destroy the thing in the center of his head." Hearing Goku's advice, Hit uses the time skip to move forward towards Aniraza's head, and it's only when the assassin is close to attacking that the giant notices him. But to Hit's surprise, Aniraza opens a fissure in space and time and punches the assassin, who is caught off guard and thrown away. Goku tries to take advantage of Aniraza's distraction and fires a Kamehameha at him, but the giant fires a wave of red energy from the crystal in the center of his head, nullifying Goku's attack. After doing this, he creates several portals and lands several punches in these portals. These punches are all teleported to Goku, who tries to dodge it, but is hit. After that, the giant creates a ball of red energy in his hand, and when he launches this energy towards Goku, the energy splits into many attacks, which go towards Goku and Hit. The two need to move intensely to avoid being hit by the attacks and explosions. Seeing that it was difficult to approach alone, Hit says, "Son Goku, we have to approach and attack at the same time." They advance and attack at the same time, trying to distract Aniraza and find a breach. but the monster, enraged, begins to emanate a large aura of energy and then shoots several energy balls everywhere, creating a series of explosions that completely destroy the whole place. Goku and Hit dodge many of these attacks, but are hit by others. As soon as it hits the two fighters, Aniraza rushes towards them to attack them. Goku, seeing that the giant monster was about to crush them with his foot, tells Hit to protect his eyes, and when the assassin does so, Goku uses the Taioken, blinding Aniraza. And as soon as the monster stops, Goku touches Hit and teleports, taking the two of them out of there and then to a place where they can stay hidden. Hit asks why Goku did that, and the Saiyan explains that if they keep fighting without a plan, they will be defeated by the monster. At the time of the Tournament of Power, it took 6 Universe 7 fighters to defeat Aniraza. That creature was tough. Goku says he could beat the monster if he used more energy, but he wanted to save his energy for now. So it would be nice if they could think of a smart way to handle the situation. Hit agrees with Goku, but attacking that monster was very difficult, as he seems to have no blind spots and is also capable of making attacks from multiple directions easily. Getting close to him to attack is very difficult, but he has an idea. It will probably only work once, so Goku needs to be prepared to land a definitive attack. Goku doesn't know what it is, but he trusts Hit's intelligence, so he just agrees. Aniraza, after regaining his sight, was launching energy attacks to all sides, destroying the entire area around him, looking for the two opponents. At that moment, Hit appeared, and hitting a punch in the air makes a purple energy go towards Aniraza, who uses an aura of energy to defend the attack. But Hit uses this as a distraction to use the time skip to punch the monster, who immediately reacts by emanating more energy and knocking Hit away. But even becoming hit by the monster's attack, the assassin smiles and says, "It's over. I just needed to land one hit." Hit points his hand at Aniraza, and then the monster is surrounded by the assassin's energy. That was the Cage of Time. After paralyzing the giant, Hit yells, "It won't be able to hold him for long. It's your chance, Son Goku." Goku appears next to Aniraza with the instant transmission. He is in Super Saiyan Blue and using the Kaioken, and he already has energy concentrated in his hands. Goku yells, "Kamehameha!" And then a great wave of energy hits the monster in the crystal in the center of its forehead. The crystal shatters and Aniraza is defeated. After Aniraza is defeated, the fusion is separated. Hit approaches them to collect everyone's Dragon Balls. However, to Hit and Goku's surprise, Bergamo, Lavender, and Basil suddenly approach them, landing an attack of both of them and pulling them away from the defeated participants. The 3 Universe 9 warriors were hiding, just waiting for that fight to end so they could get the losers' orbs. Goku criticized them. This is a cowardly tactic. But the 3 beatsmen laugh at the statement. What matters is winning. The chosen tactics are irrelevant. And after saying that, the 3 flee. Goku, very angry, goes after them. Hit tells Goku to wait. Going after them like that is reckless. It's probably a trap. But before Hit follows Goku, the entire environment around him changes, and then he realizes he's in an illusion. From the shadows of that illusionary world emerges the image of Darkori, who says that Hit was caught in the illusion of her talismans. Seeing he has no choice, Hit makes his fighting stance to fight the woman. Goku chases Bergamo, Lavender, and Basil for a while, until they suddenly stop running and attack the Saiyan. They are in a volcano. Bergamo says that Goku is an idiot. They just wanted to separate him from Hit, and he did exactly what they wanted. But Goku smiles. He already knew what they wanted to do, but he just doesn't care. He can defeat them all by himself. The 3 beasts are irritated by the statement. Goku shouldn't underestimate them like that. The 3 attack the Saiyan at the same time. Goku starts out fighting in base form, but he has a hard time fighting, as they attack so intertwined. And not only that, they were stronger too. Goku praises his opponent, saying that he can feel in the blows of the 3 that they are stronger. Lavender, while attacking alongside his brothers, brags that they not only trained individually to become stronger, but also trained as a group to further improve teamwork. Goku says that in that case he'll have to level up a bit, and then he transforms into a Super Saiyan. Bergamo recognizes this transformation as being Goku's weakest transformation, and it angers him. Is Goku still underestimating them? But the protagonist says he wants to feel their power and enjoy that fight. If they think they're strong enough to see his strongest transformations, they need to prove themselves. The 3 warriors of Universe 9, filled with fury, attack Goku. Bergamo tries to cut the Saiyan with his claws. Basil launches strong kicks, and Lavender fills his fists with poison and attacks. Goku skillfully fights them, using all the skills worthy of a martial arts master. But despite Goku fighting very well, the trio manages to land many hits on him. And in one moment they manage to land an attack that launches Goku into the volcano. But a few seconds later, the protagonist comes out of the volcano, and now he emanates the aura of Super Saiyan 2. The trio smiles. It looks like Goku is taking them more seriously. Goku advances towards the three opponents, and this time, he is the one who presses the opponents. Goku lands a lot of attacks on all of them, and defends and dodges attacks more easily. As he beats the three up, he asks if they want him to go back to the other transformation. The trio gets even more furious and then unleash even more power. Bergamo, using the energy of Goku's attacks, begins to increase his size. Lavender puts even more poison in his hands, and Basil starts to emanate even more energy and covers his legs with energy so intense it feels like fire. After increasing their power, the three wild men advance with even more fury. They attack Goku with all their might, launching a lot of energy attacks and also attempting a lot of physical attacks. Goku realizes that, in that way, they were able to match powers with the Super Saiyan 2. No, they were getting over it. At one point, Bergamo, Lavender, and Basil decide to end that fight. The trio gets even more furious and then unleash even more power. Goku, with no time to dodge, simply responds to the attack with a Kamehameha. But his energy is quickly overwhelmed by the energy of Universe 9's warriors. Despite this, Goku smiles and he says, "I wanted to save my energy, but you're trying so hard that I'll go to the next level just out of respect for you." After saying that, while holding the Kamehameha, Goku increases the power of the Super Saiyan's aura, and then the whole place starts to shake, and the volcano itself erupts. Meanwhile, the Saiyan's hair grows longer, and the wave of energy coming out of his hands gets much bigger. The Kamehameha, which was once losing to the trio's triple attack, is now charging towards them. The three, desperate to see that they were losing, scream, and then are hit by a Kamehameha and are carried far away, completely disappearing from Goku's line of sight. After defeating the opponents, Goku returns to his base form panting. He wonders if it was a good idea to have wasted energy this way to transform into Super Saiyan 3. He thinks he got more excited than he should have. At that moment, Goku realizes that he is stepping on that hot ground without the protection of Ki, and then he starts bouncing around comically while his feet are burned. Meanwhile, he remembers that he should have taken the Dragon Balls from the three, but he threw them so far away that he can't see them anymore. And since they're probably passed out, he can't feel their energy. He really is an idiot. After defeating the trio of danger, Goku flies towards where he and Hit fought Aniraza, with the intention of finding the assassin. But suddenly a bolt of lightning is fired at the Saiyan, who dodges. Soon after the attacker appears, it's Ganos, who is in a very muscular shape. When he sees the Birdman, Goku immediately recognizes him. Goku says, "Hey, it's you! You're the guy who faced Master Roshi in the first tournament." Ganos is furious and says, "I haven't seen that old man here, but I know you're his disciple, so I'll get revenge on him through you." Goku takes a good look at Ganos and realizes that he is much more powerful than when he faced Master Roshi. The Saiyan smiles and says, "You've got much stronger. You must have trained a lot since the last tournament." Ganos replied, "Oh yes, I trained a lot so that one day I could teach that old man a lesson. But that's not all. All these intense battles of such powerful people that are happening all over this planet feed my spirit. My power has increased over 300 times since I got here, and it keeps increasing by the minute." Goku is very excited to hear that, and then he says, "Perfect! In that case, let's fight and make you even stronger." Goku, still in base form, attacks Ganos. They exchange blows intensely, and Goku realizes that Ganos is just as powerful as he is in the base form. Goku praises his opponent. "Very good! You really are much stronger than when you faced Master Roshi. But now let's go to the next level." Goku transforms into a Super Saiyan, and then he starts to have a lot of advantage over Ganos, who is impressed by the protagonist's power. Ganos is hit by many of Goku's blows, but none of the blows knocks him out, which prolongs the fight. Before long, Ganos' power starts to increase, and he is no longer hit by so many blows from Goku. Afterwards, he begins to match the power with the protagonist, and sometime later, he starts to have the upper hand. Ganos says to Goku, "You idiot, you should have beaten me while you had the upper hand. Now I got even stronger." But Goku smiles and explains, "I know that. My intention is that you really get more and more powerful for our fight to become more fun." This surprises Ganos. Did Goku let him evolve on purpose? Seeing that the Super Saiyan would no longer be enough to defeat his opponent, Goku says, "Okay, now let's go to the next level." Goku goes Super Saiyan 2, surprising Ganos with his power boost. Hit is in the world of illusions created by Derkori's talismans. He had been trapped in this world created by the warrior from Universe 4 since Goku went after Lavender, Basil, and Bergamo, which has been a few minutes. Hit is completely frozen in his fighting stance, just waiting for something. Derkori's voice, which echoes through that illusionary world, asks, "Won't you move? You'll be an easy target." Hit, with a calm expression, replies, "I don't intend to move for now. Why don't you attack first?" According to Hit's thoughts, it was useless to try to look for Derkori, as it was a world of illusions created by her. Reckless moves there could lead to a bad circumstance in the real world. The best he could do is wait for her to attack before finding a gap and counterattacking. Derkori, wondering what Hit is thinking, says, "You could stand still, and waiting for me to attack to counterattack is the best thing to do, right? Well, you couldn't be more wrong. The longer you stay in this world, the more your mind will dwell into this illusion, and the more your senses will believe that this is part of reality. It's like sleep stages. The more you sleep, the deeper your sleep will be. Here it is, the same thing, only the difference is that it is not a cycle like in sleep. Here you will always fall deeper into an endless abyss. Soon you will lose all sense of reality." After hearing everything the woman said, Hit argues, "You may be right, but I'm not the type of person who has a weak mental condition. This means that for me to get to the stage you mentioned, it won't be that fast. Son Goku won't be long in coming back, as those 3 men won't be enough to defeat him. When he arrives, he's sure to break your illusions, and then you'll have 2 powerful opponents that you're certainly not going to win. Time is an issue for me, but it is also an issue for you. Let's bet who will fall first." Hearing this, Derkori disagrees. "That's not true. It's 3 against 1. They're sure to beat Son Goku." But Hit argues, "Nonsense. You may have heard that Son Goku in the first tournament of power equaled the power with Jiren, the man capable of defeating even a god of destruction. Do you really think those 3 idiots are going to beat them? It's only a matter of time before he gets back here." Derkori is convinced by this argument, and so she thinks, "Damn, he's right. I have to finish him off and steal his Dragon Ball before that guy comes back." It seems that waiting is no longer an option. Hit is suddenly surrounded by shadow bodies, with Derkori's appearance. Seeing that, Hit says, "Are you really going to try to defeat me with such a simple trick?" Hit attacks one of the shadows, but he surprisingly misses the attack, much to his surprise. After that, the assassin is hit by several blows coming from all directions. After that, he wonders what the hell happened. Derkori laughs and replies, "I told you, didn't I? The longer you spend in this world of illusions, the more compromised your mind and senses will become. At this point, your sense of direction are already completely distorted. Right, left, up and down, it's all twisted for you. You haven't noticed, but you completely lost your sense of direction. How do you intend to attack me or defend yourself in this way?" After explaining this, Derkori attacks Hit again with her shadows. While getting hit by so many attacks, Hit thinks, "With my tact compromised by her illusion, every attack feels real. It's impossible to know what's real and what's not, and with my senses compromised, it's nearly impossible to accurately attack or defend myself. What can I do in this situation?" Derkori, while laughing and attacking the assassin, says that it is impossible for him to attack or defend himself, so this fight is already lost. But Hit has an idea. So suddenly, Hit's purple energy goes through her abdomen. Derkori falls to his knees. The shadow disappears and then the world of illusions crumble. So the warrior of Universe 6 returns to the real world. Derkori doesn't understand. What happened? How did Hit know exactly where to strike? How did he find me? The assassin explains that he actually didn't know where she was, as he couldn't attack accurately because he no longer had a sense of direction and didn't know which Derkori was real. He simply froze time in a few fractions of a second and carried out many attacks in all possible directions. So one of those attacks hit her. He couldn't hit her accurately as the target was her chest and not her abdomen. But since she's not that strong, she ended up being incapacitated anyway. Derkori just can't believe what happened. He froze time in fractions of a second and performed so many attacks? This is impossible. Hit says it obviously takes incredible speed to pull off such a feat, but it's something someone like him can do. Derkori is very surprised by this. She never thought he could escape her ability in such a way. He is indeed an extremely intelligent and skilled man. Hit approaches the woman while ordering her to hand over the Dragon Ball, but he suddenly senses something and blocks many unseen attacks. Derkori smiles and greets her companions. Derkori says, "Damon, Gamisaras, and Shansa, you took your time. Those are the invisible or tiny warriors from Universe 4 who cannot be seen. Hit impatiently says, "Damn it, more scum keep getting in my way. This is getting annoying." After fighting Frieza and Cooler, Kaba was seriously injured from an attack by Cooler. Despite this, he and Vegeta continued their journey towards the center of the planet, also looking for opponents to take the Dragon Balls from them. They are currently flying over the Maritime region. Kaba is very embarrassed and apologizes to Vegeta for causing him trouble. He would like to be stronger, but even though he trains a lot, it seems like he's never strong enough. Vegeta says that defeats are part of the history of a warrior. He himself has unfortunately had many defeats, but the important thing is to not accept the situation and always improve, or at least strive to improve. A warrior's greatest defeat is not losing a fight, it's giving up on improving and settling down. After hearing these words from his master, Kaba is more motivated and thanks Vegeta. Suddenly they see a group of enemies approaching, and then a trio get in their way. The enemies are Ribrianne, Sankaku, and Su Rose, the trio of warriors from Universe 2. Seeing them, Vegeta is very angry and disappointed. He says, "Oh, is that you? Those boring women who only talk about love all the time." They get very angry to hear the prince sneer at their love like that, and then they attack. Ribrianne charges towards Vegeta, while Sankaku and Su Rose charge towards Kaba. Gohan, Piccolo, and Frost are flying over a forest region towards the center of the planet, when suddenly a shot of energy coming from the middle of the forest almost hit Gohan, who narrowly dodged it. At the same moment, Gohan and Piccolo recognize this attack. It is the Universe 2 sniper who was eliminated by Tenshin Han in the last tournament. Piccolo says that staying high makes them easy targets. They should come down. The trio descends from the sky into the forest. Gohan tries to sense the sniper's key, but he can't. Piccolo says it was already expected that he would hide his presence, but if we stay between the trees, he won't have a clear view to shoot, and also the shots will hit the trees and they will be slower. Besides that, we will also be able to hear the sounds of the shot approaching, and we will dodge more easily. If he wants to have a better chance of hitting us before he's noticed, he'll need to get closer, and then we'll have a better chance of catching him. But Frost disagrees with Piccolo's tactic and says, "But if we stay among the trees, we won't accurately see his location. We'll also have limited vision." But Gohan agrees with Piccolo and refutes Frost. Gohan says, "But he's a sniper. He'll definitely have a good hiding ability and better vision to hit us. The best we can do is really make it difficult for him to fire while we think of a way to find him." Piccolo adds on, "That's exactly it, Gohan. The more he shoots, the more we'll get a sense of his location, and then we'll follow him." A shot comes, and just as Piccolo predicts, the energy came, destroying some branches and tree trunks, which made it easier to dodge them. After this happened, they separated and headed towards the shooting site. It didn't take long for them to see the sniper, Hamira. Gohan was the first to approach Hamira, but when he was about to attack the Green Warrior, he was surprised by Yadorat Jimizu, teleporting in front of him and knocking him away. Then Jimizu touched Hamira and used the teleport to get him out of there, surprising the three who didn't expect him to have a companion. Then another shot came from somewhere else. They dodged it and headed towards Hamira, but he was again teleported elsewhere, leaving the trio very frustrated. Frost, in a tone of irony to provoke Piccolo, asks, "So, Mr. Strategist, what's plan B?" Broly, Kale, and Cauliflower were flying over a mountainous desert. They already had the required amount of Dragon Balls to pass the next stage, so they were heading towards the center of the planet. But they are surprised when suddenly an energy field is formed around them. Who created this barrier is Cocotte, a member of the Pride Troopers. After doing so, she yells, "Now, General, this is your chance." General Casserole comes out of a rock where he was hiding and, concentrating all his power, fires a great wave of energy at Cocotte's force field. Before the attack hits the barrier, Cocotte makes an opening, and then the energy enters the dome and explodes inside it, creating a concentration super explosion. After this attack, Cocotte undoes the force field and goes to Casserole's side. She says, "It was a very powerful attack, General. Did they not die?" Casserole replies, "Well, I don't know about that, man, but we saw the absurd power of those two girls in the first tournament. Containing the attack against them is not a good idea, but that was probably enough to make it impossible for them to fight for the time being." But when the smoke from the attack clears, they are surprised to see that Broly, with his body, protected Kale and Cauliflower with a hug. Universe 7 Saiyan took all the damage, which surprised even the two girls. Cauliflower, very angry, asks why Broly defended them. They are not weak and could withstand that attack. But Broly replies it was simply a natural instinct. Kale, very worried, offers to take care of the Saiyan, but he says it's not necessary. The attack didn't cause too many injuries. Seeing that, Casserole and Cocotte are shocked. That was the most powerful attack by one of the most powerful warriors in Universe 11, and all the power of the attack was contained in that energy dome, which increased the damage much more. But still the Saiyan received the attack without transforming and took almost no damage. Caulifla, very angry, says that she will make them pay for attacking in that cowardly way. But Broly says no, he will defeat these opponents. Caulifla is a little disappointed that she can't fight, but she agrees after all. Broly took the most damage from the attack, so he has the right to want to fight them. Casserole and Cocotte prepare for the fight. They are members of the Great Pride Troopers. They will not be afraid. Besides, Jiren will get there soon, and when he does, they'll all be defeated. Hearing Jiren's name, Kale and Caulifla are scared, but Broly doesn't care. He just wants to defeat those opponents who try to hurt his new friends, and so he flies towards the two opponents. In another region of the planet, Goku and Ganos exchange blows intensely. The Saiyan is already using Super Saiyan 3, and even then Ganos has the upper hand against him. Ganos' body is very muscular, and the bird warrior is surrounded by lightning, emanating a lot of power. In a moment, as they exchange blows, Ganos releases an electrical aura from his body that electrocutes Goku and knocks him away. After that, Ganos launches a powerful wave of energy from his hand. Goku counterattacks with the Kamehameha, but the Saiyan's energy is easily overcome by the energy of the Universe 7 warrior, and Goku needs to dodge to avoid being hit. But Ganos, already assuming that Goku would dodge, shoots from his mouth a wave of energy that hits the Saiyan and makes Goku fall from the sky into the forest. The protagonist destroys many trees during a very violent fall. Ganos creates in his hand a giant energy globe and launches it against the forest region. The destruction created by that energy is such that the forest is completely disappeared, turning the place into a lifeless land. Ganos smiles and assumes he defeated Goku with that attack, but the Saiyan appears before him with the instant transmission, indicating that he has escaped the last attack. Goku has a disapproving expression on his face. He says to Ganos, "Hey, take it easy. If any other not-so-strong participant had been in that region, they would have been killed by their attack." But Ganos says he doesn't care. All he wants to do is keep fighting and get more and more powerful. If he keeps increasing his power level, he will become the strongest warrior in all the universes. Hearing this answer, Goku gets more serious. Ganos was getting stronger and out of control. Master Roshi was right to be worried about him during the first tournament of power. The fighting spirit that increases his power also makes him more aggressive and ecstatic with power. It's time to end the fight before Ganos wreaks havoc on the planet. Goku closes his eyes, and when he opens his eyes, he's already transformed into a Super Saiyan God. Seeing Goku's new transformation, Ganos is confused. Before he felt a lot of energy coming from the Saiyan, but now he doesn't feel anything. Goku, with a serious and calm expression, tells Ganos that he's really amazing. A few minutes before, he was just a little above his level in base form, but now he's already surpassed his level in Super Saiyan 3. He was so excited about the fight that he even used Super Saiyan Phase 3, something that he logically shouldn't do. In other words, fighting Ganos has been a lot of fun for Goku, and if he knew how to fight by ensuring the safety of the other participants, they could continue this fight. But unfortunately, his ego increases along with his power level. Because of that, he must finish this fight before anyone gets hurt. Ganos gets very angry with those words. The way Goku speaks, it sounds like he's much superior. He doesn't like to listen to sermons. Ganos prepares another energy globe, this time much larger than the attack that destroyed the forest. After doing so, he launches at Goku, but the protagonist keeps his expression calm. And then with one hand, he holds the attack and launches it upwards off the planet. Ganos is absolutely shocked by that. How did he hold back such a powerful attack with one hand? Has Goku's power increased so much as a single transformation? But before the Birdman could assimilate the whole situation, Goku appears in front of him, and before Ganos could react, the Saiyan hits his forehead with a flick, launching him away. Ganos falls unconscious on the same ground he destroyed earlier. After defeating his opponent, Goku reverts to base form and wonders, why did he use that move? Is he inheriting Mr. Beerus' behavior without realizing it? Thinking about it gave the protagonist shivers. In the desert, Broly faced off against General Casserole and Cocotte while Kale and Caulifla watched. Broly flies towards Casserole and Cocotte, But just as he was going to punch them, Cocotte defends them both by creating a force field around them. But as soon as Brawly hits the force field and his blow is stopped, Cocotte undoes energy and Casserole attacks the Saiyan right in front of them with a wave of energy. Brawly is thrown far away with that attack, but manages to recover in midair without hitting his body with anything. This has been going on since the fight started. Brawly tries to attack, but Cocotte defends them, and Casserole counters. He's not badly injured even after taking a lot of attacks from the Universe 11 warrior, but it's frustrating not being able to attack. Caulifla yells for Brawly to increase his power or transform. If he does, he will surely and easily destroy Cocotte's barrier and defeat them both with a single attack. But Brawly doesn't want to do that. If he increases his powers anymore, he could lose control and hurt someone. Casserole takes advantage of Brawly's distraction by talking to Caulifla and approaches the Saiyan by launching a ball of energy at him. That hits Brawly's face and temporarily blinds him. After that, Casserole creates an energy blade in one of his hands and attacks the opponent with a slash, cutting the Saiyan's chest. After being wounded by Casserole, Brawly walks away, then regains his sight. Casserole couldn't believe it. He hit the Saiyan directly with the energy blade, but all he got was a shallow cut. What is that man's skin made of? Brawly gets really mad and he's tired of those tricks. The Saiyan flies towards Casserole very furious. Cocotte, even from a distance, creates a force field around the general, but Brawly now uses more strength, and just one punch from him is enough to crack Cocotte's defense, and the Saiyan's second punch blows a hole in the shield and reaches Casserole's neck. Looking into Brawly's eyes, Casserole sees he's out of his mind. Cocotte flies towards them to try to help Casserole, but Brawly throws the man at the woman. They both collide in the air and fall to the ground. After doing so, Brawly flies towards them to deliver the final attack. Casserole, scared, orders Cocotte to use the shield, but the woman says that at that speed Brawly is coming, the shield won't work. He'll break the shield and kill them both. The two warriors close their eyes. Their end has come. After that, a big impact wave can be seen in the desert. A very powerful attack hits something. But Casserole and Cocotte are still alive. What happened? When they open their eyes, they see in front of them Dispo, who has carried them somewhere else at such a high speed and they didn't even realize they were moved. After that, they see Topo land in front of them. The Pride Trooper leader congratulates Dispo by the speed of the rescue and apologizes to Casserole and Cocotte for the delay. After that, the two look at where they were. Jiren was holding Brawly's hand. He was the one who stopped the Saiyan's blow. Seeing that Jiren has stopped his attack, Brawly is surprised and seems to regain consciousness. Jiren looks at the Saiyan, says that was a good blow. He's very strong. Universe 11's warrior lands an attack on Brawly, knocking him away. Kale and Caulifla go to Brawly's side. Caulifla says that this man called Jiren is very powerful. If they face him, they will be defeated and lose the orbs they got. They must back off for now. But Brawly doesn't want to. There's something about Jiren that he can't explain, but he feels an uncontrollable urge to fight him. Something inside Brawly says he must face that warrior that stands before him. Jiren says he sees in Brawly a great fighting spirit. The spirit that is inside him and the spirit that is inside Brawly are attracting each other. They need to face each other to know who is the most powerful. Jiren orders Topo and Dispo not to interfere in the fight, and advises Kale and Caulifla to do the same. That is a battle that shouldn't be stopped. Brawly, not containing his spirit, launches himself into a fight towards Jiren, and the impact of his flight was so great that Kale and Caulifla, who were next to him, fell to their seats. Jiren also flies towards the Saiyan, and then the two clash their fists, creating a gigantic impact wave that destroys even some nearby rocks. After that, several waves of impact can be seen all over the place. The two warriors move throughout their desert region, exchanging countless blows. Kale and Caulifla, while seeing that, are absolutely amazed, as are the Pride Troopers. The impact of those two blows was so great that it made their entire body shake. It doesn't take long for the most powerful member of the Pride Trooper to gain the upper hand in the fight. Jiren lands many attacks on Brawly, punishing the Saiyan with very strong blows. Universe 11's warrior says that Brawly is powerful, but his technique is not refined, and he also doesn't have precise control of his own energy. Apparently, he hasn't fought many high-level fights. But he was different. He had spent his entire life fighting countless battles, and with much training and experience, he had refined his skills and control of his energy. But to Jiren's surprise, it doesn't take long for Broly to adapt to his fighting style, managing to defend and dodge the Universe 11's warriors' attacks. Broly says he's participated in some training with Goku and Vegeta, so yes, he fought high-level battles a few times. Jiren, upon hearing that, says, "I see. It sounds like you're the type of person who was born with a natural gift for fighting. You haven't fought many times, but you seem to have a great ability to adapt to your opponent and learn as you fight. The ability combined with the training you've had with those two makes you able to even maintain a battle with someone like me. You are a very impressive warrior, but that's not all my power. And I know it's not all your power either. The time has come to show me the limit of your strength." Jiren starts using more power in the fight, and now his punches have a lot more impact and make Broly retreat. The Universe 11 warrior's speed has also increased, and Broly is again hit by many attacks. As he hits Broly, Jiren says that he knows he has a lot more power to show. He must do it now or he will be defeated. But Broly doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to lose control. But Jiren keeps leveling up. He hits Broly more and more. The Pride Trooper man blows get heavier and cause more pain to the Saiyan, who suffers a lot with every damage received. While watching that, Kale and Caulifla are very angry. They think about helping, but Dispo and Topo go in front of them. They won't let them interrupt Jiren's fight. Topo says they're not just doing this for Jiren's sake, but for their safety as well. When Jiren is struggling with his spirit burning like that, it's not good for weaker people to get in his way. At one point, Jiren lands a blow that sends Broly away. And then, while yelling at Broly to unleash his true power, Jiren launches a powerful energy attack at the Saiyan. Broly, without time to dodge the attack, holds it with his hands, but that energy is too powerful. He won't be able to hold it. Jiren says that he must release more power now, or else he will be swallowed up by that energy. Broly, with no option, starts to unleash a large amount of power. His hair grows in height, and his eyes turn yellow. And as the Saiyan's hands held Jiren's energy, he fired a great wave of power from his mouth. And the attack was so powerful that it immediately made Jiren's energy return to himself. But the Universe 11 warrior redirected his energy and Broly upwards. Seeing Broly's new form, he's happy. The Saiyan has finally increased his power. But he knows that Broly is still not using his full potential. Broly is not out of control, but he feels a great rage trying to take over his heart. That's dangerous. He should go back to base form. But Jiren doesn't let him do that and attacks him. Broly has no choice. He reacts to the opponent's attacks while using that power. Jiren, while exchanging blows with the Universe 7 warrior, reveals in his thoughts to feel a heat in his fists. He only felt it once in his fight against Son Goku in the Tournament of Power. Broly starts leveling up even more and makes Jiren back off. Kale, Caulifla, Topo, and Dispo watched that fight in complete amazement. They couldn't believe that Broly was so incredibly powerful. But Jiren also increased his power, and again they trade blows at the same level. Many lightning strikes begin to fall from the sky, and the impact waves from their blows create whirlpools and tornadoes across the region. Little by little, the climate of the entire planet was changing. Vegeta and Kaba fight the trio of warriors from Universe 2. Vegeta fights Ribrianne in Super Saiyan, while Kaba fights Sankaku and Su-Rose in Super Saiyan 2. He has a lot of difficulty in the fight since he was injured. He is hit by many attacks from the women, who fight very well in pairs. Vegeta lands a blow on Ribrianne that knocks her away and then tells Kaba that he must react. Fighting like that, he's putting the warrior race to shame. Ribrianne returns towards Vegeta with her body curled up like a steamroller. The Saiyan dodges. She passes by him, but then turns around and goes towards him again in high speed. While fending off the women's attack with his hands, Vegeta says that he doesn't have time to help Kaba. He must find the Saiyan spirit inside him to win this battle. As he is cornered by the two women, Kaba asks Vegeta what he means by that. What is the Saiyan spirit? And the prince explains, this is the spirit that every Saiyan warrior should have. The thirst for battle and more power, and the ability to overcome one's limitations in battle, to become more and more powerful. Each blow received and each wound is a learning experience, a fuel to become stronger and stronger. After hearing his master's words, Kaba is extremely motivated. Vegeta is right. A Saiyan warrior must learn from hardship. He must use this moment of despair to overcome his limits and become even more powerful. Filled with determination, Kaba breaks out of his defensive posture and starts the offensive against the two women, who are impressed by his sudden change in behavior. The Saiyan presses the two, making them retreat, and lands a few blows on them. Women are very angry. The raw power of a Saiyan cannot overcome the power of love. Love is above all. They stand side by side and fire an attack with all their power at Kaba. The Saiyan also concentrates all his power and launches an attack in response. The two energy waves clash, but Kaba is losing. Overwhelmed by the desire for victory and power, Kaba screams as his power grows more and more, and then his energy completely overwhelms the energy of the warriors from Universe 2, and they are swept away. Ribrianne, seeing her friends losing, is furious. How could love have been defeated? But Vegeta replies, if she really knew what love is, she would have become more powerful to protect what she loves so much. After saying that, the Prince of Saiyan lands a powerful punch on Ribrianne. A punch so strong that the whole sea below them splits open. And then, after receiving this attack, the warrior from Universe 2 is also thrown away. After seeing that they won, Kaba smiles, and then he goes back to base form and passes out. The young Saiyan falls towards the sea, but before he reaches the water, Vegeta catches him by the arm. With a proud smile on his face, the Prince of Saiyan tells his unconscious disciple that he did a good job. But Vegeta realizes something. The climate in the region is changing. The sea is getting rough, and lots of lightning dominates the skies. He feels an incredible power taking over the planet. No, two powers, Broly and Jiren. Worried, Vegeta wonders where this is going to end. The combat between the two super powerful warriors continues. While fighting against Jiren, the Saiyan releases a large amount of power. His expression is one of fear and despair. While fighting, he tries to control his own power, but his energy simply escapes his body without permission. Seeing what is happening to his opponent, Jiren tells him that while he fears his own power, he will never be able to control it. He must accept his own power. But for Broly, those words have no meaning. He doesn't know what the most experienced warrior means. He just feels scared. Jiren lands attacks on Broly. He says that the Saiyan's preoccupation with his own power makes him lose attention in the fight. If Broly keeps fighting like this, he will be defeated. Broly is even more scared and less able to defend, dodge, and counterattack. With that, Jiren gains more and more advantage in battle and punishes the Universe 7 warrior with heavy blows. Broly suffers from every blow, his bones crack, and his muscles seem to crumble on impact. Jiren says that he knows Broly can be better. He feels that who stands before him is the warrior, who like Son Goku can push him to the limit and make him become wiser and more powerful. But for that, Broly must use his full potential. The Universe 7 Saiyan, tired of receiving so many blows and suffering so much pain, screams so loud that it makes the whole region shake, and he starts releasing a gigantic aura of energy that makes even Jiren back away. Now Broly has transformed into Super Saiyan, and the pupils of his eyes have disappeared. Seeing the opponent's face, Jiren realizes that he is no longer in control. From that moment on, he will need to be very careful. Not only with himself, but with everything around him. Broly advances towards Jiren, who is unafraid, and also towards the maddened enemy. The two clash fists, and then something strange happens. They are no longer in the desert, but on a mountain. Toppo, Dispo, Kale, and Cauliflower wonder where they went. They shocked their fists on one moment, and the next they weren't there anymore. Toppo, wondering what happened, says that probably the power of their attacks caused a space-time distortion. They must have gone to another region of the planet. He can still feel their energy. Broly and Jiren exchanged extremely powerful blows, and now the Saiyan attacked the warrior of pride without any hesitation. Jiren lands an attack on the Saiyan, but he simply ignores the damage, and without retreating an inch, counters Jiren with an even stronger blow, destabilizing the ball man's guard, who receives a string of attacks afterwards. Jiren immediately raises his ki, and again the fight is in balance. He praises the Saiyan, saying, "That's right, finally you are fighting without hesitation. You have finally accepted your own power. See how that makes you so much stronger? But something is still missing." Jiren begins to dodge and defend Broly's attacks, and counterattacks the Saiyan many times. Broly has a hard time attacking or defending his opponent, which makes him very frustrated and even angrier. While striking the Saiyan, Jiren explains, "In addition to accepting his power, a warrior also needs to own his power. Your power is great and your gentle heart makes you afraid to use it, so you deny your own strength. But when you need more power, you end up being overpowered by it, because your mind unconsciously rejects it. And as long as your mind rejects power, both cannot work together. You need to accept your power. Brawly can't understand Jiren's words. He gets even more frustrated and furious at not being able to hit the opponent, and then starts unleashing even more power. Seeing this, Jiren realizes that this process is not going to be easy. While all this was happening in another region of the planet, Piccolo, Gohan, and Frost were in a bad situation while facing Jimizu and Hamira. The sniper Hamira would hide in the trees in the forest and shoot at them, but finding him was not the main problem. It was the fact that every time they got close to attack the sniper, the Yadrat Jimizu teleported him to another place. That way it was almost impossible to catch them, which made the fight an eternal game of cat and mouse. At one point, Hamira shoots at Piccolo, who dodges the shot. Gohan, coming from the other direction, fires an energy attack at the Green Warrior, and Frost, coming from the other direction, also fires an energy attack at him. But Jimizu immediately reaches him with the instant transmission and takes him away, letting Gohan and Frost's attack hit each other and create a huge explosion at that location. Piccolo, very angry, crosses his arms and started to build up energy, and then he yells at Gohan and Frost to get away. After that, he opened his arms, releasing all the accumulated energy, and then a great wave of energy devastated all the forest, destroying all the trees and making that place just an empty land. Gohan asked Piccolo why he does that. Wasn't the plan to use the trees in the forest to hinder the sniper? Standing in an open field would make them more vulnerable to an attack. Piccolo says that the situation has changed. It's impossible for them to catch up to Hamira and Jimizu like that. Hamira and Jimizu appear in the sky. Clearly, Jimizu has teleported to escape along with Hamira from Piccolo's latest attack. They smile, and Hamira says that now they were on open ground, it would be much easier for him to hit them. And on the other hand, it wouldn't be any harder for him and Jimizu to keep evading enemy attacks. This means that Piccolo's decision only made the situation worse for them. Piccolo responds to this provocation by shooting a key ball at Hamira, who deflects it, and then the Namekian smiles and says that the way it was before, they couldn't counter Hamira's shots from a distance as he was hiding among the trees, but now they have an open view. That's possible. That is, if they cannot defeat the sniper by approaching him, then they would do so from a distance. Frost smiles. He liked that idea. A shooting contest wasn't too bad. It could be fun. Gohan, Frost, and Piccolo all fire energy attacks at Hamira at the same time. The sniper warrior dodges the attacks with an annoying expression. Hamira tells them, "Who do you think I am? I'm a professional, attacking with shots and firing from a distance in my specialty. Do you dare think that you can win just because there are three? I'll show you who you're dealing with." Hamira shoots at the three Team 4 warriors, who dodge and fire back. This battle is now a firefight. Suddenly, the climate of the region changed. A big storm started. Gohan gets very worried and tells Piccolo that it was Brawly's ki. It was too high and out of control. Piccolo says that Gohan should focus on that fight. They can think about what to do with Brawly later. Brawly and Jiren were now fighting in a frozen region of the planet. The impacts of the two warriors' blows destroys the glacier around them. The legendary Super Saiyan fought madly, while the Universe 11 warrior remained calm. Even though the two were using the same level of power at the moment, Jiren landed blows on Brawly while the Saiyan couldn't hit him. He explains to Brawly that fighting that way, he can subdue warriors who are weaker than him. But if he fights someone of the same level, he will have many weaknesses compared to the opponent, as this uncontrolled fighting style leaves him with many breaches for attacks. Brawly, angry at receiving so many attacks, begins to emanate even more energy, and several balls of energy begin to be fired by the Saiyan's ki aura and hit all over that place. Jiren defends himself from these attacks by creating a force field around him. Hit had just defeated Universe 4's warriors, Daemon, Shansa, and Gamisaras. They weren't very strong warriors, but because they were almost unattainable, they were hard to see. It was a boring fight. Derkori, who had been defeated by Hit before the three companions arrived, scolds the three unseen warriors. How could the three have been defeated? They are so idiots! Suddenly a shower of ki balls fall from the sky, and both Hit and Derkori need to dodge to avoid being hit. Hit, sensing Brawly's ki, notices that he is increasingly out of control, and wonders how far Jiren intends to take this fight. Derkori, feeling the energy of that uncontrolled and very powerful warrior, smiles. She seems to have a plan. The woman tells Hit that she already knows a way to defeat him and his entire team. Their defeat is already assured. After saying that, Derkori disappears, and Hit is a little worried by that insinuation. How will she defeat the entire Team 4, which is made up of such powerful warriors? He must watch out. Broly creates a gigantic globe of energy and launches it towards Jiren, who, seeing the attack would hit the planet and could cause destruction that could spread over a large territory, decides to hold the attack instead of dodging. Jiren needed to use more power to not be carried away by Broly's energy, and so the Universe 11 warrior once again raised his power and launched the attack skyward. But Broly was already very close to him, and lands a string of blows on the Pride Troop warrior. He finishes the string of attacks by shooting a wave of energy through his mouth that completely engulfs Jiren's body. Jiren is carried from the frozen region of the planet into a vast desert, where he finally crashes into the ground. He was really hurt by that attack. When he gets up, Jiren sees that Broly is already there, the legendary Super Saiyan watching him from the sky with an expression of pure fury and madness. Jiren smiles. Broly is really incredibly strong, but that fight shouldn't go on, or else the situation could become unmanageable. Jiren starts to increase his power even more, releasing an unbelievable amount of ki, and as the Universe 11 warrior does so, he says that in the next move this combat will end. But Broly, sensing Jiren's power increase, also increases his own power. And even though the Saiyan doesn't use words to express his thoughts, Jiren realizes that he too plans to end the fight in his next attack. The time to know who is the most powerful has arrived. As Broly and Jiren raise their powers for a final blow, Frieza and Cooler watch from a distance. Cooler, a little annoyed, complains, "Damn, following these two around this huge planet is so boring." But Frieza, with an evil smile on his face, justifies, "Be patient, my brother. The moment is coming. Broly and Jiren are true monsters. A direct fight against them is something very dangerous. But if we can surprise them in a moment of weakness, we can finish them off. They will end this fight. After their next shock, someone will be the loser, and it will be that person that we will eliminate. Or if we are lucky, both of them could end this fight very wounded, and we'll kill them both." After saying that, Frieza makes his evil laugh. His eyes are bloodthirsty. Goku arrives with the instant transmission in that desert. He arrives in a place a little far from the two warriors. Without a worried expression, the protagonist observes both of them emanating an absurd amount of energy. He realizes that if they attack with that amount of power, someone could get out of this fight dead. He has to do something. But that's too late. Jiren and Broly at the same time release powerful waves of energy. The attack of both warriors violently collide, creating an impact wave that makes the entire planet vibrate. At first, Jiren seems to have the upper hand, but Broly, even more crazed, increases his power even more and starts to have the upper hand against Universe 11's warrior, who has to push himself even harder, unleashing even more power and making their attacks stay in motion. Balance again. Goku tries to get closer, but the power of those attacks is so great that the Saiyan can't fly closer to them. Goku, using telepathy, speaks to Jiren's mind, who is surprised by the call of another Saiyan from Universe 7. Speaking in Jiren's mind, Goku says that Broly is like a battle machine. The angrier he gets, the stronger he will be. Broly will reach a level that Jiren can no longer handle, and will put everyone on that planet in danger. Jiren should end this fight now. Jiren also communicates with Goku by telepathy and says that Goku is not entirely right. If he pays close attention, he will see that Broly, despite being angry and despite increasing his power, has a confused energy. If his energy is confused instead of being totally dominated by anger, it means that despite using all that amount of power, he is still holding a spark of awareness deep in his heart. But Jiren says he understands Goku's point. It really might not be a good idea to push Broly even further. Broly increases his power even more, and then he again defeats Jiren's energy. And to everyone's surprise, Jiren's energy is completely swallowed up by the Saiyan's energy. And Universe 11's warrior is hit by the energy wave and disappears in the middle of that attack. Broly's attack explodes into the ground and enters the ground and off the planet in the distance. Broly's energy can be seen crossing the other side. Broly's attack literally ripped through the entire ground of that gigantic super tough planet. But when we see Broly again, we see that his energy is completely dissipated, and Jiren has his hand on the Saiyan's abdomen. He clearly landed a very powerful punch on Broly. Universe 7's warrior loses his Super Saiyan aura, reverting to base form, and then he spits out a large amount of blood. Jiren says, "You are confused, aren't you? You must be wondering how I did this. It's simple. because you didn't have a good control of your power. That energy attack of yours, despite having a huge and unbelievable amount of energy, had no precision. Because of that, the moment I was hit by your attack, I just focused my energy on a single point to defend myself. And using my energy on that single point, I was able to advance through your attack and attack you where you least expected it. You are powerful, but the fact that your release energy so wildly means that an attack that is very powerful and well focused can beat you, as you are unable to control your energy to create a good concentrated defense. In short, your lack of control over your own power was your defeat. After Jiren says these things, Broly passes out, and then the Universe 7 Saiyan falls from the sky towards the ground. Frieza and Cooler were watching this. Frieza says, "Now Cooler, he's completely unprotected. Let's kill him." They fire energy laser towards Broly. The attack would be deadly, but Jiren gets in front of the Saiyan, and even receiving their attacks head on, the Universe 11 warrior is not hurt. That act surprises Frieza and Cooler. Jiren says, "It's been a while since I've noticed you guys hiding. So this was your plan? You should be ashamed of such a low and mediocre strategy." Frieza and Cooler are irritated by those words. Goku goes to Jiren's side and sees what Frieza was up to. He gets very angry. The protagonist says, "Hey Frieza, since you want to fight, why don't you fight me?" At that moment, Frieza and Cooler notice that Topo, Dispo, Kale, Cauliflower, Casserole, and Kokode are also flying towards them. Frieza says, "Cooler, there's no chance of victory here. Let's retreat." Cooler doesn't like that idea. He feels like a coward, but in fact there was no chance for them. So they both back off. Topo, Dispo, Kale, Cauliflower, Kokode, and Casserole arrive. Kale, seeing Broly on the ground, immediately rushes over to see him. She's very worried. Goku takes the Dragon Ball from Broly and gives it to Jiren. He says he deserves it. After all, he won the fight. Jiren takes the orb but says he must make sure Broly moves on to the next step. He feels that Broly can become even more powerful if he controls his power, and he really wants to fight the Saiyan to his fullest potential. This fight was just an omen. Goku says he will do his best to get Broly to qualify, and he also thanks Jiren. It seems that this fight was very important for his friend. Cauliflower says that they were talking too much. They are enemy teams, shouldn't they be fighting right now? Goku says it would be better if they could face each other in the next stages of the tournament. Maybe then they can fight without having to worry about other opponents getting in the way. Everyone else agrees and decides that they won't fight at that moment, but in the next phase. After making this deal, the Universe 11 warriors leave. Kale, who was examining Broly, says he doesn't appear to be seriously injured, but he also doesn't look like he's going to wake up right now. Cauliflower asks what they should do now. Goku says it's best from now on he stays with them and Broly to make sure the situation doesn't get out of control again. They must go together to the center of the planet and look for enemies to defeat them and take their orbs. In another region of the planet, a real shooting battle was taking place. Piccolo, Gohan, and Frost fired many waves and energy balls at Hamira, the best sniper in Universe 2, while the sniper did the same against them. Hamira dodged the shots either with his own skill or with the help of Jimizu, the Yadrat from the same universe, who helped him to escape that attack using the instant transmission. In this way, Hamira became almost unattainable for Gohan, Piccolo, and Frost, who needed to dodge the Universe 2 warrior shots using only their own skill. In one moment, Gohan fires an energy attack at Hamira. The sniper counters Gohan's attack with one shot. The two energy shots collide and create an explosion. When this explosion happens, Gohan can no longer see the opponent because of the smoke. But that was already part of Hamira's plan, and so Gohan is surprised when Hamira appears behind him along with Jimizu with an instant transmission. When he arrives behind Gohan, Hamira already has a shot ready and launches his attack against Gohan, who is surprised by the instant movement of the opponents and dodges by very little, earning a deep wound in one of his arms. Frost, trying to hit the two opponents from behind, immediately creates a globe of energy and launches it at them. But Jimizu notices the attack and uses the instant transmission to both escape in this way. Frost's attack goes towards Gohan, who needs to escape immediately and is narrowly wounded by the allies' attack. Gohan yells at Frost that he needs to be more careful to attack. He's not fighting alone. But the Universe 6's warrior says it's not his fault that Gohan is an idiot. Taking advantage of Frost's distraction, Jimizu teleports along with Hamira to his back, and then Hamira makes a shot that would hit Frost But Piccolo reaches out his arm and grabs Frost by the arm and pulls him out of the direction of the attack. Thanks to that, Frost is not hurt. Piccolo tries to counterattack Jimizu and Hamira by launching an energy attack with his other hand at them. But again, Jimizu teleports and the Universe 2 warriors evade the attack. Piccolo, Gohan, and Frost reunite again. Piccolo scolds the two companions, saying that if they argue with each other, they will be defeated. Frost says that catching these two is impossible, especially if he has to worry about hitting his allies when attacking. Piccolo says that Hamira and Jimizu do this on purpose, making enemies hurt themselves in part of their strategy. Gohan tells Piccolo that they need to transform. Using more power is the only way to reach these two. But Piccolo does not agree with this idea. Jimizu can move instantly with the instant transmission, even if they transform to increase speed. It won't be that easy, meaning they'll need to waste a fair amount of energy to catch them. This tournament is apparently going to be much longer than the first one, and they don't know how many stages of the competition there will be and what kind of challenges await them. They just know that some gods of destruction might be enemies. In this first stage, they need to save as much energy as possible so as not to be easy targets in the next stages. Gohan agrees with his master that they need to save energy. But what are they going to do? They cannot reach the enemies. Piccolo says he has an idea, but for that, they will need to work as a team. Hamira from a distance sees that Gohan, Piccolo, and Frost are whispering something, and while saying not to allow them to keep talking, the Universe 2 warrior fires several energy attacks at them. In order to dodge, the three warriors of Team 4 need to split up. And as they do so, Piccolo yells for Gohan and Frost to remember what he said. After saying this to the three companions, the Namekian raises both hands, and then he uses his mental power to raise a cloud of dust that hides him. Seeing this from the sky, Hamira says that this is useless, and then he shoots several times at the dust cloud, forcing Piccolo to fly away. And while shooting at the Namekian, the sniper says that none of them will be able to hide from him. In a moment, Hamira manages to land a shot at Piccolo, but when the Namekian's body is hit by the attack, he disappears. It was just a clone. At that moment, the real Piccolo, who had actually been hiding underground in that region at the time he hid in the dust, appears from under the ground and shoots a wave of energy from his mouth. The attack comes from below and behind Universe 2's warriors, and by the time they realize the attack, it's already too late. Jimizu is hit by Piccolo's energy and is knocked down by it. After hitting Jimizu, Piccolo yells at Gohan and Frost that it's now their turn. Gohan tells Frost that they can't let Hamira move freely, and asks the Universe 6 warrior to surround the area. Even though he doesn't like the idea of obeying Gohan's instruction, Frost does as he says, and then creates several energy lasers with his fingers, surrounding that entire area around Hamira, just like Frieza did to surround Dispo during the first Tournament of Power. After Hamira is surrounded by Frost's lasers, Gohan flies towards him and attacks the Green Warrior. Hamira tries to react against Universe 7's Earthling Saiyan, but he is at a total disadvantage. Hamira tries to retreat, but he touches one of Frost's lasers and is wounded in the back. Gohan smiles and says, "You're actually much better than all of us at ranged attacks, but in hand-to-hand combat, you're not even close. Fighting you like that is even boring." Hamira gets very angry and charges at Gohan, trying to land some attacks on him, but it's useless. The Earthling is totally superior and manages to dodge and block Hamira's attacks very easily. And then in one moment, Gohan counters with a stronger attack, and so he knocks out Hamira. After Hamira and Jimizu defeat Gohan, Piccolo and Frost get together again. Piccolo says they all did a good job as a team. Gohan says it wasn't that bad fighting alongside Frost, but the Universe 6 warrior says he only did it because it was necessary. It's good they don't think that they're friends just because of that. Gohan and Piccolo laugh at their teammates' bad mood, and then they continue their journey towards the center of the planet. Goku, Kale, Caulifla, and Broly are flying over an archipelago. Broly is still passed out. He's being carried by Goku. Caulifla impatiently asks Goku what he intends to do. He gave Broly's orb to Jiren. They should look for another one for him. Goku says it's not fair for them to defeat an enemy and give Broly the Dragon Ball. He must do it himself. Caulifla hates this idea. How is Broly going to get a Dragon Ball if he's passed out? Jiren hit him really hard. It's possible he won't wake up that fast, and maybe he won't wake up until this phase of the competition is over. Will they let Broly be disqualified? Goku is thoughtful about that. She was right. It's not cool to let Broly be disqualified. But on the other hand, it also doesn't seem fair for him to be classified without getting the orb on his own. It's a complicated situation. While the members of Team 4 are flying over that archipelago, on one of the islands, Derkori is hiding. She watches them pass through the sky. The Universe 4 warrior has been looking for them for a long time. She looks at Broly being carried by Goku, and then she smiles and thinks, there he is. Ever since I felt his monstrous uncontrolled power during that fight, I've been looking for him. This man will be the key to my victory. Derkori has a talisman in her hands, and she's looking at this talisman. She thinks, with this special talisman, I will manipulate all the anger in his heart, so he will become an uncontrolled monster that will defeat everyone he sees in front of him. Derkori launches this talisman towards the flying group and uses telekinesis. She manipulates the talisman to go towards Broly, and then the talisman hits Broly's back and attaches to the Saiyan's body. At that moment, Broly is seized by an aura of evil energy. He wakes up with his pupilless eyes with a completely uncontrolled expression. Surprising all of his teammates, Broly lands a punch to the back of Goku's head, knocking out the Saiyan before he can even react. Goku falls from the sky towards one of the islands. Kale and Caulifla, shocked by this, ask what Broly did. At that moment, Universe 7 Saiyan turns to them. Looking at them with an expression full of fury, Kale and Caulifla realize that Broly was completely out of control, but wonder how that happened. While releasing a large amount of energy, Broly flies towards the two Saiyans, attacking them furiously. While watching this hidden on one of the islands, Derkori smiles with that most powerful Saiyan defeated. Broly is sure to be defeating those girls very easily. Broly attacks Kale and Caulifla. He lands an attack on both of them, launching Caulifla into the sea and Kale onto the island below them. The first to react is Caulifla, who comes out of the sea already transformed into a Super Saiyan and attacks Broly. The Saiyan girl lands many attacks, but the man receives all the blows completely still. Her attacks made no difference to him. After that, Broly counterattacks with a blow that causes Caulifla to spit out a large amount of blood. Seeing that amount of power wouldn't be enough to deal with Broly, Caulifla immediately advanced to Super Saiyan 2 and then started a counterattack, but again her blows made no difference to Broly, who after receiving many attacks from the front, grabbed Caulifla by the neck and began to strangle the woman. Caulifla, unable to escape the suffocation, began to lose her strength. But then Kale, already transformed and with her new muscular appearance, came flying and knocked Broly away, causing him to release Caulifla. After pushing Broly away, Kale asks how Caulifla is doing. Caulifla replies that she is fine, but it is very frustrating to see the difference in power between them. Seeing Broly flying towards them again, Kale says that she will try to face him head-on and hold him. Meanwhile, Caulifla must try to find a gap to attack. Kale flies towards Broly and the two collide in the air, but Kale immediately loses the strength contest and is carried by the Universe 7 Saiyan, who charges at her with many attacks as the woman has to retreat, trying to defend the blows. Kale recognizes that Broly's power is far beyond her control and tries to talk to him, trying to wake him up from his furious sleep, but Kale's words don't seem to reach Broly. While watching Kale trying to wake up Broly, Derkori in thoughts say that was absolutely impossible. The power of that talisman made Broly's conscience fall into a deep abyss. No voice can reach him. At this moment, he is completely dominated by hatred and madness, making him come to his senses. With words is not an option. Vegeta and Kaba are flying over a large open field. Kaba is passed out on Vegeta's back until he finally wakes up. Seeing that the younger Saiyan has woken up, Vegeta scolds him, ordering him to get off his back. Kaba, embarrassed, obeys, and then the two fly side by side. He asks Vegeta what happened. The older Saiyan explains that after the fight against the three women from Universe 2, he passed out. Kaba apologizes. He's causing his master a lot of trouble. Vegeta says it's true, but at least this time he managed to win. He did very well in that fight and is certainly evolving. If he continues on this path, he will definitely become a worthy warrior. Kaba is a little embarrassed by that compliment and then thanks his master's words. Suddenly the two feel something and stop flying. Vegeta, with a worried expression, says he is feeling Broly's ki and is completely out of control. But this time, his lack of control is much worse than when he faced Jiren. This time it seems that he is completely dominated by madness, without any trace of conscience or humanity. Kaba, sensing Kale and Caulifla's ki, realizes that they are having a hard time against Universe 7 Saiyan. Vegeta tries to sense Goku's ki, as he had previously sensed Goku's ki next to Broly's and knew they were together. But now he can no longer sense his rival's energy and wonders if Kakarot has been defeated. Kaba, very worried about his friend, says that they should help Kale and Caulifla. Vegeta disagrees. They don't have to solve other people's problems all the time. If they are true Saiyan warriors, they have to face their own battles. But Kaba argues that this is not an individual competition. They are a team and need to help each other. After hearing that, Vegeta makes an angry expression. As Broly pressures Kale, Caulifla advances behind him, and then she notices Derkori's talisman attached to him and deduces that perhaps that is the cause of the man's madness. But when Caulifla tries to get close to remove Derkori's talisman, Broly notices her, grabs Kale by the ankle while parrying a kick from her, and spinning Kale uses her body to hit Caulifla, throwing the Saiyan girl into the sea. After this, Broly spins Kale over and over in the sky, creating a large tornado with the force that spins the woman. And just as Caulifla was coming out of the sea to rush towards him and attempt some attack, Broly launches Kale at her. Kale goes towards Caulifla and collides violently with her. The two Saiyans are thrown into the sea with such force that they open a crater in the water to the deepest region of the sea until they collide with the ground and are buried. Only after the two women hit the ground does the sea close in again. That impact was strong enough to knock out Kale and Caulifla, who are now passed out under the sea. Broly, still not satisfied, creates a large globe of energy, and aiming to kill the two Saiyan girls, he launches his attack towards the sea. That attack would surely be powerful enough to kill them, and also destroy that entire region. But Vegeta appears with Kaba using the instant transmission, and seeing that giant energy globe approaching, he is scared. Broly was really attacking to kill those girls? Vegeta immediately transforms into Super Saiyan Blue and fires a final flash at Broly's energy. Vegeta's energy wave carries Broly's energy globe into the sky. Vegeta has an angry expression. He didn't like to use the instant transmission, but Kaba insisted so much on helping those two girls that he had to do it. But in the end it was necessary, as if they took a few more seconds. Broly would have been a murderer. Vegeta tells Kaba to rescue the two girls at sea. In the meantime, he will deal with Broly. Kaba obeys his master and dives into the sea to rescue Kale and Caulifla. Looking at Broly, Vegeta sees that he is not normal. In fact, just talking won't work. He needs to be defeated. The Prince of Saiyans increases his power even more. He will now use Super Saiyan Blue evolution. Broly responds to the Prince of Saiyans' power increase by also increasing his power. He goes to Ikari form. From now on, he will use the power of an Uzaru. After transforming, they both fire several ki balls towards each other. Many explosions occur in the sky, creating a large cloud of smoke. Broly breaks through the cloud of smoke to attack Vegeta, but the prince fires an energy attack that hits Broly before he gets close. Broly holds back Vegeta's energy, but the attack was incomplete. Vegeta moves behind Broly and fires a second attack just like the first. As Broly has both hands full holding the first attack, so the second attack hits him from behind and explodes, causing the first attack to explode as well. And then a gigantic explosion occurs. The pressure of the explosion caused a great tsunami in the sea below them. While looking at the big cloud of smoke waiting for Broly to come out, Vegeta reflects that he saw a strange object on his back. Maybe that is making him go crazy. If he removes that thing, Broly should be back to normal. The Saiyan comes out of the cloud of smoke, absolutely enraged. He goes towards Vegeta trying many attacks, but Vegeta defends them all. The prince, finding some gaps during Broly's attacks, counterattacks, leaving Broly a little stunned. At one point, Vegeta launches a ki ball at Broly's face, causing a small explosion that leaves Broly blind for a moment, after which he goes to Broly's back and hits a kick on his back, launching Broly towards the mountain of one of the surrounding islands. Broly hits a rock with the front of his body, and his face and the entire front of his body are buried in the rock. After that, Vegeta launches 5 energy rings at Broly, trapping the Saiyan's arms, legs, and neck. That way, Broly was immobilized and his back exposed. After doing that, Vegeta smiles. Now all he needs to do is remove that weird thing on his back. But Derkori, seeing what was about to happen, thinks desperately. She says, "Damn it, this way he'll regain consciousness. I can't let that happen. I will increase the power of the talisman so that his wrath will be fully unlocked. This can be dangerous, but if he is defeated, none of this will make sense." Derkori extends his hands towards Brawly. At this moment, the negative energy surrounding the Saiyan becomes even more intense, and then Brawly, in an even greater amount of fury, releases an immense amount of energy. With that, he destroys Vegeta's power rings, the rock he was trapped in, and also the whole little island. Vegeta, who was approaching him, is pushed away immediately. A large pillar of energy created by Brawly can be seen even outside of that planet. Derkori, seeing this, is very worried. Did she make him go too far? Kaba, who was carrying Kale and Caulifla, leave the Saiyan girls passed out on the floor of an island. After doing so, he looks at a huge pillar of energy and is worried about his master. But the amount of power that Brawly was releasing was too great. He couldn't do anything to help. If he went there, it would just get in the way. The energy pillars crumble, and now Brawly can be seen again. He's transformed into a Super Saiyan and his body is much bigger and more muscular. Seeing this, Vegeta gets very angry, and then he complains. Damn it, I was almost done. Now his power is much greater. This will get even more complicated. There is no way I can win this fight by containing my power. I will need to use my most powerful transformation. Vegeta starts to concentrate his power, and then the Super Saiyan Blue's blue aura changes color. Now the energy released by Vegeta is purple, the energy of destruction. The Prince of Saiyans, with a much wilder appearance, says with a crazed smile on his face, See that form, Brawly? I call it Ultra Ego. Which source of power is more powerful, the power of your fury or my power of destruction? Come, let's find out! Seeing that power emanating from Vegeta, Brawly gets even more furious, and then he advances towards the Prince of the Saiyans to attack him with a punch. And to Brawly's surprise, Vegeta doesn't dodge or block. He takes the attack head on. After being hit by the legendary Super Saiyan, Vegeta smiles, and then he says, Come on, Brawly, I know you can do better than that. Vegeta also lands a blow on Brawly, who counters, but is later countered by the smaller Saiyan. The two begin an intense exchange of blows, but neither tries to deflect or defend. They receive each other's attacks without hesitation. Before long, Brawly gains the upper hand and he begins to land many attacks on Vegeta, who takes the hits of the larger Saiyan while spewing blood through his body. After many attacks from Brawly, Vegeta is completely dizzy and stunned. Brawly puts a lot of energy in his hand. He would finish the fight with one last blow, but when he did the attack, Vegeta held his punch with just one single hand, and then facing the legendary Saiyan with a maniacal-like smile, Vegeta says that now it's his turn. Vegeta lands a powerful punch on Brawly that causes the maddened Saiyan to expel a large amount of blood from his mouth. After that, the smaller Saiyan corners the larger Saiyan with a string of many hits, both fast and hard. Seeing the two combatants fighting in the sky from afar, Kaba is very impressed and he says to him, Impressive! Master Vegeta at one point was at a complete disadvantage, but even though he was hit by many of Brawly's attacks, he seemed to have gained the upper hand. It's as if the simple fact of getting beaten up makes him stronger. After thinking these things, Kaba smiles. There is a hope his master can win. Derkori, who was watching from another island, is not as happy as Kaba. She thinks confused. Damn it, what's going on? One moment that guy with the big forehead was losing, and suddenly he's got the upper hand? How can this happen? While making Brawly retreat with his attacks, Vegeta taunts him by saying, What's the matter, Brawly? Is this all your fury? Is that all your power? Your wrath is nothing compared to the true power of destruction. After receiving many attacks from Vegeta, Brawly finally held one of the blows and counterattacked the prince with a blow that knocked him away. After that, Brawly fired a large energy attack at Vegeta, who, pointing one of his hands at the attack coming his way, shouts, Hakai! After that, Brawly's attack completely disappears, surprising the legendary Saiyan, and Vegeta took advantage of Brawly's surprise to fly towards him and hit him with a strong headbutt to the head, stunning Brawly. After stunning the larger man, Vegeta grabbed him by the hair and then flew off, carrying him towards the sea. Vegeta and Brawly immerse themselves in the water. The prince takes Brawly towards the bottom of the sea, and while doing so, he thinks, if I drown him until he completely loses oxygen and passes out, it will be easier to remove this thing from his back. But Brawly reacts and unleashes an immense amount of power that opens the sea and makes Vegeta release him. They start exchanging blows in the breach in the sea, and the pressure of their attack is so great that they create a tornado around them, and the wind mixed with the water creates a water tornado. Kaba and Derkori try to see what's going on inside, but they can't see anything because of the water walls of that tornado. They can only hear the monstrous sounds of the impacts of their blows. Lightning falls from the sky and hits the water tornado, causing the spinning walls of water to be consumed by electricity. That was a natural catastrophe never seen by those who were present. Inside the tornado, Vegeta and Broly exchanged blows intensely. Both were badly injured. In a moment, Broly grabbed Vegeta by the face and pressed his face against the wall of water, and the electricity running through that water electrocuted both Vegeta and himself. Even though he was electrocuted, Vegeta pointed one of his hands at Broly's face and he yelled, "Big Bang Attack!" Outside of that gigantic electric water tornado, a huge explosion could be seen that broke up the tornado. The power of that explosion was so great that it left both Kaba and Derkori completely scared. From the midst of the explosion, two bodies were seen falling to opposite sides. One of the bodies landed on one island and the other body on another. Kaba and Derkori were very tense. Who was Vegeta and who was Broly? Which one will get up? A short time later, they saw someone floating from the island's floor to the sky. That person was Vegeta, who was very injured. Seeing that, Kaba was very happy. He did it! Vegeta defeated Broly! Derkori, seeing this, dropped to his knees. Broly lost! Was all her effort meaningless? But suddenly a large amount of energy started to be released from the other island, and then the other person could be seen floating towards the sky as well. It was Broly, whose face was covered in blood, and now his expression was much more crazed. Seeing that, Derkori stood up again. She knew she made the right bet. Broly will win. And at that moment, Kaba's smile fades. It wasn't this time. Seeing Broly leaving that island emanating even more power, Vegeta is very angry. But then he smiles and says, "You really are a tough guy. After that day we fought on Earth, I trained tirelessly to increase my power. And I also went through many life and death battles. I made my way to get stronger, though a lot of sweat and blood. But even though I've done all that, there you are, pushing me more and more to overcome my own limits. I have no choice. I need to evolve even more to defeat you." But just as Vegeta would start to increase his power even more, Goku appeared in front of him, telling him to stop. Vegeta is surprised by his rival's sudden reappearance, but says that this is not a good moment. They were in the middle of the fight. Goku says he's the one who has to fight Broly, not Vegeta. The prince gets very angry with this statement from Goku, and he says, "What right do you think you have to intervene in this fight, Kakarot? You were responsible for him. You were defeated. Now do you want to interrupt what I'm doing?" Goku, embarrassed, apologizes to Vegeta. Unfortunately, he was caught off guard by an attack, but then he gets more serious again and explains why he stopped that fight. He says, "Vegeta, this transformation of yours gives you more power at the cost of taking attacks from enemies. Broly is very powerful and has the potential to greatly increase his power until he reaches some limit. This means that to fight at that same level as him and follow his evolution, you'll need to receive lots and lots of attacks, and he will probably keep evolving too, until someone finally reaches some limit. This means that no matter who wins, both will end this fight seriously injured. In other words, our team would be very harmed for the next stages of the tournament. Or worse, one of you could be killed." Hearing his rival's argument, Vegeta says, "All right, Kakarot, you might be right. But what is your plan then?" Goku explains, "Contrary to your ability, my Ultra Instinct is perfect for dealing with Broly without resorting to extreme violence. Someone like him who evolves with the fury of battle must have big problems facing someone who fights with ease and with good dodges. I'm the ideal opponent to face Broly right now." After hearing all this, Vegeta cannot think of arguments to refute his rival, so he is forced to agree. "All right, Kakarot, your argument is irrefutable. But don't fail this time, or else I will face Broly with all my might and without holding back." Goku thanks Vegeta for understanding and says that this time he won't fail. Vegeta undergoes the Ultra Ego transformation, returning to base form. He tells Goku about the strange object that was implanted in Broly, and that it was probably responsible for his sudden, out-of-control mode. If Goku removes that thing from Broly, he should go back to normal. Hearing Vegeta's instructions, Goku thanks him. That's exactly what he's going to try to do. After instructing his rival, Vegeta walks away from Goku. Goku closes his eyes and concentrates for a moment. And after doing so, he opens his eyes again, and the Ultra Instinct is already activated. While facing Broly, who is completely enraged, Goku says, "Broly, maybe fighting me you can ignore all the anger in your heart a little bit." Ignoring Goku's words, Broly charges at the protagonist, attempting to direct punch, concentrating a large amount of power. But Goku, with a completely smooth movement, deflects Broly's punch as if the angry warrior's attack slipped through his hand, leaving the pressure from Broly's attack to pass right through him. After doing so now with a much cruder move, Goku lands a powerful punch to Broly's abdomen. A punch so strong that the impact wave of the blow passes through the legendary Saiyan's body. Even though he received such a powerful attack, Broly immediately recovered from the pain and tried a sequence of attacks on Goku, who dodged all the blows with a completely serene expression. And after avoiding many attacks, the protagonist landed a second blow on Broly, this time a blow to the face, which left the brute Saiyan completely stunned. Broly tries to grab Goku, but the smaller Saiyan escapes the larger Saiyan's arms by doing an acrobatic move over him, then lands a top blow down that launches Broly into the sea. A second later, Broly emerges from the sea, flying towards Goku, trying to attack him in many ways. But Goku always dodges, which leaves Broly completely frustrated. In a moment while evading Broly's blows, Goku lands on an island, but the attacking Saiyan doesn't give any rest and flies after the protagonist to hit him a powerful blow from above. But Goku, already expecting it, disappears from Broly's vision, letting him hit the island floor and completely destroying that floor. After Broly does so, Goku reappears above him, and using telekinetic force causes the various pieces of that destroyed ground to come together on Broly, trapping the legendary Saiyan among the rubble. Seeing all this happen, Derkori is very angry. Why can't Broly hit the enemy? Maybe if he has more power. Perhaps he should try to push the talisman's power even further. Derkori extends her hand, but when she was about to use her powers, someone grabs her arm. That person was Hit. Seeing the Universe 6 assassin before her, Derkori is very surprised. She asks how he knew she was there. Hit explains, "Every time you made that threat to me before you escaped, I've been waiting for your next move. Feeling the monstrous energy of this Saiyan called Broly's fights, I figured you might have something to do with it, so I decided to come looking for you. But now you will no longer interfere." Hit touches 2 fingers to Derkori's neck, and then she passes out. After doing so, the assassin thinks, "Looks like he didn't get back to normal simply with her fainting. He'll still have to be stopped with violence. Sorry, Son Goku, but this is still in your hands." Broly uses his power to completely blast the boulders around him, but his distraction with the boulders opens up a gap for Goku to come up with a moving attack that hits the legendary Saiyan with great force, sending Broly far beyond that destroyed island. But even though he was sent far away with the force of Goku's attack, Broly returned in just an instant, flying towards the other Saiyan with extraordinary speed. Goku dodges Broly's attack, letting him pass right through. But Broly immediately turns around and goes towards Goku again, as if he were a bull attacking the bullfighter. But this time he hits the opponent, who needs to block the blow. Goku realizes that Broly is already starting to adapt to Ultra Instinct. He needs to end this fight before it starts to get problematic. Broly attacks Goku with many attacks, forcing the protagonist to block the blows while backing away. The fact that Goku is retreating gives Broly more and more confidence. Now he's finally winning. His punches reach the opponent. But then, to the legendary Super Saiyan's surprise, a large body of energy is created around Goku, and then the giant hands of that body hold him. After that happens, Goku smiles and then he says, "Capturing you isn't that difficult, as you attack like crazy with no worries. It would be hard to keep you captured, right? Well, but I won't give you time to get stronger. Let's get you back to normal." As Goku's energy body holds Broly, the protagonist steps out of the energy and removes Derkori's talisman from the Saiyan's back. When Goku does this, Broly immediately passes out. Goku sighs in relief as he returns to base form. At that moment, the energy body is dispersed and Broly would fall, but Goku holds him, and simply looking at his friend's face closely, he sees that he fell asleep, as if he was overcome by a deep sleep. Goku smiles and says, "Poor guy. I think he'll wake up in pain and very confused." Goku lands with Broly on the same island where Kaba kept kale and cauliflower. Vegeta and Hit also join them. A few seconds later, Gohan, Piccolo, and Frost arrive at the scene. They also felt Broly's ki getting out of control, and that it was getting worse, and so they decided to go there to help. But luckily, everything was already resolved. Now Team 4 is finally back together. Vegeta wants to separate from others again, but Gohan says he better not do that. They are already close to the center of the planet. There is no reason for them to separate again. What's more, other people were probably getting there as well, which means they're sure to encounter a lot of enemies from now on. Separation was definitely not a good idea. Piccolo agrees. They already tried the strategy and it didn't work. Half of them are already injured or have spent more energy than they should. From now on, it's best for them to stay together. Goku, Vegeta, and Hit, even not liking this idea very much, understand the arguments of the others and decide that doing this is really the best. All the members of Team 4 flew very high in the sky, at such altitude that only the clouds could be seen below them. They all flew towards the center of the planet, where they had to arrive to move to the next stage. At that moment, they realized something. Broly, Kaba, and Vegeta don't have the Dragon Balls needed to pass. Kaba and Vegeta were unable to take the orbs from the enemies they faced, as Frieza and Cooler fled before the fight was over. And when they beat the 3 women from Universe 2, they were so impatient that they just threw them too far and didn't go after them. That is, they only have the orbs, but they were given to them at the beginning of the tournament. And in Broly's case, he managed to get rid of the orb that Majikayo had, but Goku gave his orb to Jiren after his defeat. That means Broly only has 1 orb now. Frost says that he, Gohan, and Piccolo defeated 2 Universe 2 warriors. He wanted to take the Dragon Balls from them as a prevention, but Piccolo and Gohan said that they already had the required amount of orbs to pass, so it was not necessary to take the orbs who were with them. Piccolo and Gohan justified their decision by saying that they trusted every member of their team to be able to get the orbs on their own merit, and still think so. Frost says they're 2 idiots. This is a competition. That kind of morality shouldn't apply there. But for everyone's happiness, he thought it might happen. And so when he defeated Shansa, Kamisaras, and Damon from Universe 4, he took the orbs from all of them in case the party members missed it. That was his job, to get as many group members as possible to move to the next stage. To pass, he will use the orb he took from Derkori when he knocked her out after meeting her again. Hit gives the Dragon Balls to Vegeta, Broly, and Kaba, and takes an orb for him. Vegeta doesn't want to accept it. He doesn't like the idea of being classified just because Hit gave him the orb. But Kaba argues that accepting those orbs is not a lack of merit. After all, they actually deserve those orbs as they defeated Universe 2's trio of warriors. As they didn't take the Dragon Balls from them, they can accept these orbs given by Hit as if they were the ones they didn't take from them. Strangely, that logic used by Kaba is accepted by Vegeta. The Prince of the Saiyans says that it still doesn't seem worthy of him. But there is a point in what Kaba is saying. Goku says that if everything is okay and everyone has the required amount of orbs to pass, they just need to arrive at the destiny. After a few minutes of travel, they finally reach the center of the planet, and lowering the altitude, they can see a large tower. That was certainly the meeting place. They fly towards the tower, but many energy shots are made towards them. They dodge all the shots, and then they see the authors of those shots are the participants of Team 2, Paparoni, Panchia, Bolarator, Koitsukai, Majikayo, Napapa, Obni, Lubalt, Mediop, and Dium. The 10 warriors of Team 2 are all gathered. Goku asks what they want. Paparoni replies that they need Dragon Balls to move on to the next step, and for that they will take Team 4's orbs. Piccolo says that he has already imagined that something like this would happen. The losers would gather in the center to, as a last hope, take the orbs of those who are close to completing the journey. Paparoni doesn't like Piccolo's words, so he says, "Who are you calling a loser, Green Man? I will teach you all a lesson. Prepare to behold the power of Aniraza once more." But before Paparoni could even do anything, Hit using the time skip got to the Team 2 participant and landed a blow that immediately knocked him out, leaving everyone in awe. Goku complains, "Hey Hit, why did you do that? Catching people off guard like that is not cool." But the Universe 6 assassin replies, "Don't be an idiot. We don't want more trouble than necessary. With that man out of the way, they won't be able to become that giant monster." Very angry, Panchia, Koitsukai, and Bellator make a fusion, becoming Koichirator, and after doing so, they go towards Hit to attack. But before reaching Hit, Koichirator is hit by a double energy attack in the center of the body. This attack was made by Gohan and Piccolo, who combined Maken Kosapo and Masenko. After that, Gohan says, "From now on, we'll all fight as a real team." Frost, seeing something that surprises him, warns the others, "Hey, look around us!" At that moment, the members of Team 4 notice the group of enemies are approaching from all sides. Seeing this, Caulifla says, "Looks like those idiots who didn't get the orbs are all going to focus on us." Piccolo says, "It's natural that they would do that. We're the ones with the most variety of orbs, after all." But Vegeta gets really mad about it, and he transforms into Super Saiyan Blue. He says, "Those damn vultures! I'm tired of these games! I want everyone to go to hell!" Goku, seeing Vegeta transform, also transforms into Super Saiyan Blue, as he says with an excited smile on his face, "Vegeta is right. Since there are so many, we don't need to save so much power. Let's break it down." At this point, everyone decides to use transformations too. Caulifla and Kaba transform into Super Saiyan 2. Kale transforms into a legendary Super Saiyan. Broly transforms into a Kari form. Frost uses the form with 100% unleashed power. Gohan uses ultimate form. Piccolo uses his form with the potential released. And Hit unleashes more power in an energy aura. Team 4 is now prepared for this great, desperate battle to come. With many enemies coming from all directions, Team 4's warriors spread out, each heading in a different direction to face a group of enemies. Ganos flies towards Goku at full speed. He shouts saying that this time he will win, but Goku, saying he doesn't have time to pay attention to him this time, lands a powerful punch on the Universe 4 warrior, who's very surprised by the Saiyan's power and is thrown far away. After that, Vegeta, coming towards Goku while accumulating energy in his hands, shouts for the rival to get out of his way, and then fires the attack. Goku, scared, does as Vegeta says, moving out of the way of the attack with an instant transmission. Vegeta's attacks hit Obuni, who was coming up behind the protagonist to attack him. Teleporting to Vegeta's side, Goku thanks him, but he says he wasn't taking any real risk there. Vegeta tells him to shut up and just thank him for the help. Blue Bolt from Universe 10 flies towards Piccolo. He wants another rematch. Piccolo flies towards him as well. The two clash in the sky and exchange blows, but this time it's totally different. Blue Bolt is being completely pressured and asks why this is happening and why Piccolo is so strong this time. The Namekian replies that it's simple. The last time he was a long way from using his full power, and after saying that, Piccolo lands a stronger blow on Blue Bolt that knocks him out at the same moment. After that, he notices someone approaching him from behind. It's Diem, the bird warrior also from Universe 10. But before Diem could attack Piccolo, Gohan came by his side and hit a flying shot at the unfortunate, who fainted with a kick and was gone thrown far away. After that, they saw Napapa coming towards them flying. Both fired at the same time an energy attack that hit and knocked out the pink warrior. Meanwhile, Sankaku and Su-Rose attacked Kaba, who blocked both their attacks, but in a moment he's hit by a double attack from the two that launches him down, making him fall from the sky towards the forest. But Kaba manages to stop the fall before crashing into the trees. The two women, not intending to give him time to recover, fly towards him, but before they reach the boy, Caulifla comes flying towards them, landing a blow that sends them both flying. After doing so, she goes to Kaba's side and says that she will help him just this once. The two women from Universe 2, already recovered from Caulifla's blow, fly towards them. Kaba and Caulifla also fly towards them, and then they find themselves initiating an exchange of blows. The two Saiyans sure have the full advantage against the warriors of love, landing many attacks on them. While fighting, Kaba asks Caulifla why she isn't together with Kale this time. Caulifla replies that Kale has already made a new friend to fight. Koichia Raider attacks Broly with his metallic balls, but the legendary Super Saiyan, despite receiving the robot's attack directly on his head, barely feels the blow, scaring the machine. After that, Broly takes the robot's metallic hand and spins it many times in the air. After doing this, he launches the robot into the air. Meanwhile, Kale, who is nearby, accumulates energy in her hands and then launches a powerful attack at Koichia Raider, who is hit by the legendary Super Saiyan's attack and is launched so high that he can no longer be seen by them. After that, Broly and Kale smile at each other, an ironically childish and innocent smile for someone who has just done what they did. Frost is fighting Gimizu, who is at a total disadvantage, but the Yard Rat reacts and, using the instant transmission, evades a blow from Frost and counterattacks. After doing so, he creates several clones of his body. Frost, annoyed, fires energy lasers from all of his fingers at the Jimizu clones, but none of those clones were real, and in fact the real Jimizu appears behind him to hit him with a kick. But Frost smiles. He's been waiting for that, and then he grabs the Yard Rat's leg with his tail, surprising the Universe 2 warrior. With Jimizu trapped by his tail, Frost punishes the Yard Rat with numerous blows. But as this happens, Hamira, who is far below them, hiding in one of the trees in the forest, takes aim at Frost to fire an energy blast at him. But suddenly is hit by a blow to the neck and then he passes out. Who attacks Hamira was Hit. He had noticed the sniper hiding in the place and took advantage of his distraction with Frost and Jimizu's fight to attack him off guard. It didn't take long for the battle to be over, and Team 4's warriors managed to defeat every other participant on the planet who didn't get the orbs needed to advance in the competition. After doing so, the warriors returned to their power base, and then headed towards the tower at the center of the planet, leaving the losers scattered across the region. Arriving close to the tower, they noticed that around the building there are platforms in a circular shape, and on each platform there is space for 5 people. The group split in 2 and climbed onto the platforms. When they did, they teleported to another place. Suddenly, they were in a large hall. In this hall, there was a floating platform where the Zeno's throne, the Zeno's guards, and Daishinkan were. On other floating platforms were the 4 gods of destruction, already classified: Likir, Arak, Jin, and Iwan. In the center of this place, below everyone else, were the other 10 participants who had passed the first stage of the tournament. The other 10 warriors were classified were Frieza, Cooler, Jiren, Topo, Dispo, Bergamo, Lavender, Basil, Ribrianne, and Jimizu. Seeing Jimizu among the winners, Frost is very surprised. He remembers defeating the Yard Rat when Team 4 was attacked by everyone a short time ago, but Jimizu explains that he actually faked his defeat, and when no one was watching, he took the orb from another participant defeated by Team 4. With the orb he got from someone else on his own team, he managed to pass. It wasn't the most dignified strategy, but it was the best he could do. Frost smiles. He approves of what Jimizu did. He's right. The smartest are the ones who survive in the end. But in the next stage, he will make sure that Jimizu is not even in a position to cheat. The Yard Rat warrior is a little frightened by this threat. But Daishinkan interrupts the two participants' futile conversation. He says that now that everyone is there, they can start talking about the next stage. Goku, very anxious, thanks the Grand Priest and says he can't wait to start fighting again. Daishinkan praises the Saiyan's enthusiasm and says it's good that he thinks like that. After all, he's going to face many opponents now. The statement leaves Goku confused. How is he going to face many opponents? The Daishinkan begins to explain. He says, the next stage of the tournament will be a scoring competition. At this stage, all participants will need to score as much as possible. And among the 20 who will participate, the 12 with the most points will move on to the next level. Piccolo asks the Grand Priest to further explain how it would work. How exactly would they be able to accumulate points? The Daishinkan explains. At this point, the angels are removing from Planet Arena all the disqualified participants that are there. They will be taken to a place where they can watch the event, just like the other gods who came. And now, instead of being occupied only by mortal participants, the planet will be occupied by millions of androids created especially for this competition. That information surprises everyone. Will they face androids? Gohan asks what kind of androids are these? Are they like number 17 and number 18 from Universe 7? The Daishinkan replies, yes. They may be similar to 17 and 18 in some senses, as they are artificial life forms with a human appearance. But the difference is that the source used to create these machines is not technology, but magic. These androids were created by the Super Dragon Balls. They were created for the sole purpose of being used in this tournament. Gohan asks how these androids relate to the participants' scores. Daishinkan explains in detail. Well, I'll explain. Right now, tens of millions of androids are being scattered all over Planet Arena. These androids have a very varied level of power. There are androids with a very low level of power compared to your power, but there are some extremely powerful androids. Each of these androids will be worth a certain amount of points, and the points ranking is done according to their power level. That is, weaker androids will be worth a very low number of points, while stronger androids will be worth a large amount of points. Your mission is to travel around Planet Arena, finding these androids and destroying as many as you can. Every time one of these machines is destroyed, their value will be added to your total score. Frieza complains about these rules. It seems too boring to travel around the planet, destroying insignificant robots. But Daishinkan disagrees and warns. As I said before, the fighting power of these androids is extremely varied. The weakest robots won't really be a problem for warriors like you. You could destroy many of them in a few seconds, but those at the higher levels can certainly be a big challenge. Toppo asks the Grand Priest to explain the average points that we'll get for each android level. Daishinkan does as he asks. Well, the score for each android will vary between 1 point and 500,000 points. As I said, the weaker an android is, the less points the participant will receive for defeating it. And the stronger it is, the more points it will be worth. The difference between the weakest and strongest android is absolutely astronomical. Among all these androids, there are 3 that are especially powerful. Facing them will be a great challenge for any of you, even the most powerful. Upon hearing the last piece of information, most participants get very tense. But some warriors are excited about this, like Goku, who says it would be a very interesting fight. Daishinkan raises both hands, and then an aura of magical energy quickly surges around the participants and then disappears. Caulifla, suspicious, asks what he did. The Grand Priest explains, at that moment I used a magic power that will give you a special ability that will allow you to see the score an android is worth the moment you look at it. That is, every time you look at an android, you will instantly know the score you will get if you defeat him. But not only that, you will also be able to detect their presence with your vision, even if they are at a distance. This will make it easier for you to find them on such a huge planet. In addition, you will also have your scores in real time in your views. In short, you will have in your views complete information about everything you need to know about this game. Frieza comments that this magical ability should function as a tracker they use in their army. Just as trackers detect opponents' fighting power and detects them from a distance, the ability throws them to track androids and see the score. The difference is that detection will take place in their minds, not by a machine. Daishinkan says he doesn't know about these trackers, but yes, that's how the skill works, and he adds that whenever they can see their current score, they can change strategies during the game whenever they see fit. After saying this, the Grand Priest adds more information by saying, the androids are instructed not to attack you unless you appear to want to start a fight, which means you don't have to worry about surprise attacks. You will have the option, when you see the androids, to decide whether or not it is worth starting a fight. Gohan notes that with these rules, they are free to define a scoring strategy, and the Daishinkan confirms. Very well observed, Mr. Gohan. That's exactly it. You'll be able to decide which strategy to follow during the game. You can choose to eliminate dozens, hundreds or thousands of weaker androids to get a high score, or you can choose to go directly to a more powerful android and get a higher score with just one fight. On the other hand, if you feel that the current score is too low, you can choose to go after stronger enemies to increase your score. Also, in case you are satisfied with the current number of points, you can choose to defeat weaker enemies to increase the score more smoothly. The strategy that each of you will follow will depend on many things, including the power level of you or the group. When he says the word group, Daishinkan remembers something else, so he adds, speaking of group, there's another thing that's important to mention. In case you defeat an enemy in a group, the score that enemy is worth will be divided equally among the group members. That is, let's use as an example that 2 warriors destroy an android worth 100 points, in which case each warrior will receive 50 points. If 4 warriors do this, the score for each will be 25 points and so on. That way, weaker warriors who want to gain more points by defeating a more powerful enemy will have the option to fight as a team. Hearing that information, Bergamo, Lavender and Basil are very happy. After all, they love to fight as a team. Piccolo also liked those rules. It's a type of competition that allows competitors to create and adapt their strategies according to each one's need. But Goku only wants to know one thing: where to find the strongest guys. He asks the Daishinkan that. The Grand Priest replies he won't reveal anyone's exact position. Goku will have to search the planet for them. This saddens the Saiyan, but he knows he's going to find these guys one way or another. Daishinkan adds one more rule. Another important rule is that at this stage of the tournament, the participants must not fight each other. Your only opponents are the androids. Any participant who attacks another participant will be disqualified all the same. After that, the Grand Priest adds the last information. Well, now for a final piece of information. The second stage of the tournament will have a time limit of 1 hour, which means you have 1 hour to get as much of a score as you can. With the power that I have given you, you will be able to see the location of enemies, the points that each of them is worth your score. You will also be able to see a timer in real life. Hearing that, Goku gets completely scared and then he complains, "What? You mean we only have 1 hour? But will I have time to find these strong guys?" Daishinkan, intending to end that conversation, says, "Well, now all the rules are explained. I believe there is no more doubt. It's time to start the second stage of the new Tournament of Power. I wish you all good luck." Daishinkan makes a motion with his hands, and then all 20 participants disappear from that place. Suddenly, all the members of Team 4 are on the outside of the planet again. It looks like the game has already started. Goku notices something strange in his vision. He's seeing on one side a stopwatch that has just started. On the other side, he sees the number 0, and suddenly, many points start to appear, and each of these points has a different number. The Saiyan complains, "Oh man, a lot of things started to appear in my vision. It's a lot of information. What an unpleasant thing." Gohan explains, "It's like the Grand Priest explained. This timer is keeping track of the time we've left until the end of the competition. The number 0 is our score, and these little points and numbers are respectively the closest android, and the number of points each of them is worth if we beat them." Frost asks the group what style of tactics they want to follow at this stage. Gohan says that there are many tactics they can use. The safest tactics are to face medium and low enemy levels individually, or face more powerful enemies in a group. These are the 2 ways to earn points faster without having to take too much risk. Vegeta says these plans are all nonsense. They must go after the strongest and challenge them. That way they can guarantee the classification. But Piccolo disagrees with Vegeta. He says that if they face 2 powerful warriors unaided, they risk expending too much energy or acquiring more wounds. They try to fight individually in the first stage of the tournament, and the only results in bad things. The best they can do is act in a group. He says he doesn't really like working in a team, but Piccolo has a point. Maybe it's better to do it this time. But Goku protests. How is he going to find the strongest guys like that? He wants to fight them. Caulifla agrees. She wants to test her limits too. What fun is a Tournament of Power if she can't use all her power? Gohan tells Goku it's okay. They can look for strong enemies, but they must stay together and fight together. This can be an effective way to gain points faster. They don't necessarily need to fight together, but they should fight not too far apart from each other, so they don't get separated and have the possibility to help someone who is in difficulty. Although some of them don't like it, they all agree with this idea. Vegeta says he's up for it. He doesn't mind fighting next to them, but he won't accept that they interfere in his fight. Everyone agrees to these terms. It's the best thing they can do to keep the team together. Suddenly, everyone is scared when a supernova comes towards them. The members of Team 4 immediately need to flee from where they are, and the attack crashes into the ground and creates a huge explosion in that region. Caulifla, surprised and annoyed, asks who attacked them. The android shouldn't attack them, right? But whoever did that was Frieza. Seeing who attacked, Piccolo asks Frieza what he thinks he's doing by attacking them like that. Participants are not allowed to attack each other at this stage. They must only fight the androids. But Frieza, with a cynical smile on his face, asks for forgiveness and justifies his act. Please forgive me. What just happened? It's just that I ended up tracking some enemies in that direction and launched an attack. But I didn't see you were there. I must have misdirected the attack. I'm still getting used to using this skill, so I'm a little confused. Vegeta, annoyed, says, Stop pretending, Frieza. You were trying to hurt us. Admit it at once. Frost, looking at Frieza, says, Hey Frieza, don't think I've forgotten what you did to me in the first tournament. I will still have the opportunity to take revenge. Frieza says he doesn't have time to waste with amateurs. He has better things to do. Frost gets very angry and intends to give an answer, but they stop arguing when they see a group of androids approaching. By looking at them, participants were able to measure their level. Their scores ranged from 1 point to 10 points. Disdaining enemies, Frieza says, They're just worms. Frieza blows and then a current of strong air hits the android and blows them all. Frieza's scores, which was previously 0, is now 55. This disappoints the Emperor, who had expected a little more. Cooler, who wasn't far away, yelled at Frieza as he watched something from the sky, and it formed a supernova. Cooler says, Hey Frieza, there's some worms in that direction. Cooler launches the supernova towards a mountain. The mountain completely explodes, and all enemies that could have been there are sure to have died. After doing so, he says, Only 320 points? What a joke! Frieza calls his brother, saying, Come, my brother, let's look for stronger enemies. There's nothing worthwhile in this place. Frieza and Cooler fly out of there. Hit agrees with them and says, They're right, we should start looking for enemies too. Team 4 also started to encounter many enemies. As they traveled around the planet, they decided to attack different types of androids to measure the average power of each of them, so they could understand what to expect from each scoring level. Team 4's warriors searched for the android individually or in pairs, but despite this, they tried not to stray too far from each other. Seeing a group of dozens of androids coming towards him, Frost measured their power and saw that it varied between 1 and 10 points. Saying that they were just trash, Frost created a large globe of energy and fired at them, destroying them all at once. His score went to 211 points. Kaba and Caulifla also headed towards a group of androids whose power ranged between 10 and 50 units, and realizing the Saiyans' fighting intent, the machine surrounded them. But the two destroyed each of the robots with a single attack. It was even boring for them. At the end of that real run, they got about 150 points each. Vegeta, seeing a group of enemies, also calculates their power. The points range from 50 to 100 points. Seeing that, he comments, Interesting. Those guys have a power level close to Frieza's when we fought him on Namek. A few years ago, I would have found these enemies completely terrifying, but now they're just trash. Vegeta points his hands at them and fires a big bang attack. The energy explodes in their midst and instantly destroys them all, as if they were just insects. He scores 657 units. Goku is flying over a mountain when he sees 5 enemies, and their score ranges from 100 to 300 units. He flies towards them to fight. Combat begins and Goku realizes that their power level is close to the power of the androids when they attacked Earth. But that's not a big deal for him these days, so he quickly destroys all opponents, even fighting in base form. Goku has 903 points. Gohan and Piccolo fight in the sky against a sextet of androids, each of them faced with 3 enemies, and both in base form. The score each android was worth ranged from 300 to 500. Piccolo notices that these androids' power was similar to Cell's power, and Gohan agrees. He remembers that power very well. Piccolo manages to quickly destroy all 3 opponents. Gohan could defeat the 3 of them in base form, but not wanting to take too long to not have to make Piccolo wait, he transforms into Super Saiyan. After doing so, the Earthling Saiyan destroys all androids quickly. Piccolo now has 1,000 points, while Gohan has 1,213. Kale and Broly faced 4 robots. Each of them faced 2 enemies. The score level of those robots ranged from 500 to 2,000 points. The robots were pretty powerful. and that's why Kale was transformed into a legendary Super Saiyan, but Broly is still fighting in base form. With some fighting time, they managed to win. Broly got 3,800 points, while Kale got 3,118 points. Hit was facing two opponents. One of them had a power level of 2,450 and the other of 3,000. The moment they were facing each other, but the next, the androids moved towards Hit. The assassin had already made his move with a time skip, and then both machines were destroyed. Hit now has 5,450 points. In addition to these fights, Team 4's warriors fought many others, and as they fought against androids of many different levels, they learned their average power level and chose the best, most suitable opponents for them. The other participants did the same thing, and learning the average power level of the androids, they used various types of strategies to accumulate points in the most convenient way possible. Jimizu, for example, decided that facing enemies that were too powerful could be problematic, so he decided that he would eliminate weaker enemies, making it a rule that he would not face androids worth more than 15 points. That way Jimizu could defeat opponents quickly, and he used the instant transmission to move faster around the planet. Using the skill given by Daishinken, he would track enemy groups and go directly to them, quickly eliminating them and accumulating points. Universe 9's trio of wild warriors, Bergamo, Basil, and Lavender, decided to use a different strategy. They faced stronger androids, which were worth up to 5,000 points, but they did it using their good teamwork. Dispo raced across the planet, destroying every android he saw. The weaker ones he destroyed as he ran, without even needing to stop his movement, but sometimes he encountered more powerful ones that made him need to waste a few seconds or minutes fighting. Toppo and Jiren decided to use a different strategy. They decided to ignore all the weaker androids and go in search of the more powerful androids. The idea is to guarantee classification with a single fight. After some more time, Team 4's warriors encountered new enemies. This time they decided to risk facing slightly stronger enemies with the intention of getting a faster score. Frost was now fighting an android that was worth 1,520 points. The Universe 6's warrior chose this enemy with the score level because despite being considerably strong, he could still destroy that enemy without needing to use too much power and forms and greater expenditure of energy. Frost fought this android in the sky, and as they exchanged blows, the mortal landed many attacks on the machine. The android, to Frost's surprise, suddenly removed two blades from within its arms and attacked him. Frost, even taken by surprise by the attack, managed to dodge, but his face was slightly scratched by one of the blades. He smiles. He says that apparently this android has some tricks. He also likes to use tricks, but unfortunately, his poisons wouldn't work on this type of enemy. The android lunges again to attack Frost with the blades, but this time the mortal was ready, and so he fires lasers from his fingers. That split the android's blades, then counterattacked by knocking him away. After doing so, Frost, while accumulating a large amount of energy in his hand, says it's time to end that fight, and then he fires the energy at the robot. The attack was more than enough to destroy that enemy. But to Frost's surprise, the robot suddenly started releasing a great aura of energy, and his musculature grew. After this happened, he launched Frost's attack away, leaving the mortal absolutely shocked. Another strange thing is that suddenly the android's power level started to change. Seeing all this happen so suddenly, Frost asks, shocked, "What does this mean?" His score has increased from 1,520 to 1,850. After transforming and increasing its power, the android charges towards Frost at high speed and lands a strong punch on him. Frost, after receiving the attack, tries to counterattack, but his blow is held by the android, who retaliates by landing another attack that launches him away. In another place not so far away, there was a mountain, and at the top of that mountain, an android was sitting in a meditation position on top of a rock. Gohan and Piccolo approach. When they arrive, the android gets up. The two Universe 7 warriors face the android. They see the number of points he's worth, 8,215 points. Piccolo comments that to defeat this enemy individually, they would have to use a great amount of power, but if they fight together, they can do so without having to spend a lot of energy. Gohan agrees and then transforms into Super Saiyan 2. He says that if Piccolo fights by his side, this transformation alone is enough. Both fly at the same time towards the android and try a hit. The android remains frozen on the stone. It just forms a globe-shaped energy shield around itself. Upon hitting that shield, both mortals are electrocuted and move away. After that, the android charges at Gohan and lands an attack that knocks him away. After that, he charges at Piccolo and the two exchange blows. But Piccolo is at a disadvantage until the Namekian is hit by a blow that sends him crashing to the ground. Realizing that Gohan was coming at him again to try and attack, the enemy prepares to dodge, but Piccolo reaches out his arms and grabs the android's ankle, preventing him from moving, and then Gohan lands a strong blow on the android. After that, Piccolo, still with his arm outstretched and holding the opponent's ankle, throws him against the rocks, causing his body to destroy the stones. After that, Piccolo moves to Gohan's side and they both fire an energy attack together, causing a huge explosion in that place. Piccolo asks Gohan what he thinks. Gohan, with a serious expression, replies that it is certainly still far from over, and the android floats out of the smoke protected by its energy shield. An android is standing at the top of a large tree in the middle of a large forest, watching the forest from above. Who comes to him are Kaba and Cauliflower. Smiling, Cauliflower measures the android's point level. It's worth 10,000 points. Kaba is uncertain about that. Wasn't that enemy too strong for them? Cauliflower says yes individually, but if they fight together using all their power, surely they can win. But Kaba disapproves that strategy, asking whether it is wise to expend energy in this way. But Cauliflower doesn't care about his words and transforms into Super Saiyan 2. When she does, the android understands that they want to fight, so he rushes towards them. Kaba, seeing that there was no other option, transforms into Super Saiyan 2 as well, and they both head towards the android. They exchange blows at the same time, but the android has the upper hand, causing both Saiyans to back off. Cauliflower, seeing the power of the enemy, says, "Damn, I think I miscalculated a little." Kaba, while being grabbed by the android in the neck, asks with an ironic tone, "Do you really think so?" The android launches the boy against the girl and they both collide and fall into the forest. Two androids were standing on a tree branch in the middle of the forest when Broly and Kale approached. Measuring the power of the androids, they saw that one of them was worth 20,000 points and the other was worth 50,000 points. Kale is a little unsure. They seem to be very strong. Broly tells them that he will face the strongest. Since fighting that man named Jiren, he has decided that he needs to improve his self-control so that he doesn't hurt others anymore. He feels that to do this, he needs to face these powerful opponents. Kale smiles. She says if he's going to try, she should try too. The two transform. Broly goes into Ikari form while Kale goes into Super Saiyan. The two advance towards the androids and attack them. The android block their attacks, and the impact is so great that it destroys many trees around them. Hit walks into a cave. Along the way, he meets many androids, all of which have a point level between 100 and 500. Hit says they're not what he wants, but getting some easy points wouldn't be a bad thing. Realizing the assassin's intentions to fight, the androids charge towards him, but in the next moment they're all destroyed. Hit, in a single time skip, eliminated them all, scoring more than 15,898 points. After doing so, he proceeds to a deeper region of the cave where he finds an android sitting, and the score for that android was 100,000 points. Knowing that Hit wanted to fight, the android gets up, but at the same moment he gets to his feet, the assassin is already close to him, striking a blow to the robot's chest. But to Hit's surprise, despite having a part of his chest dented, the android resists the attack and counterattacks, but he fails to land a blow on Hit, who uses time skip to distance himself. Hit says that apparently that fight will take a little longer than he imagined. On a rock situated in the center of a large lake, an android is standing looking at the sky. Suddenly, several pieces of other androids fall from the sky into the water. Vegeta was the one who did this from the sky as he faced the android. Smiling, the Prince of Saiyan says, "If I defeat you, I'll get 250,000 points, right? Well, it's the best way. I don't want to have to waste time with a lot of this rubbish." Vegeta transforms into Super Saiyan God, and then charges towards the android to land a punch on him. But when Vegeta tries to deliver the punch, the android simply disappears in front of him, and the pressure of the Saiyan's punch destroys the rock the robot was on, and opens a temporary hole in the lake. Then the android appears behind Vegeta, ready to land an attack on him, surprising the Saiyan Prince with his speed. But Vegeta immediately dodges and he transforms into Super Saiyan Blue. After that, the prince smiles. Now he realizes that the creature was really powerful. He could give him some fun. Very high in the sky above the clouds, an android floating while looking down. Then someone breaks through the clouds and comes face to face with him. It was Goku. Facing the android while smiling, he says, 300,000 points, huh? Not bad. Goku transforms into Super Saiyan Blue, then flies towards the android to start a battle. Frost fights a hard combat across the sky. He exchanges blows against an android, but he's put under heavy pressure by the machine, which has many advantages in the fight. When Frost started fighting that android, his score was 1,520 points, which by the average android power would be a fight where he wouldn't have so much trouble winning, and at the same time he wouldn't gain so few points. In fact, at the first, Frost was winning easily, but the android suddenly used a transformation, and he was now worth 1,850 points, which means that his power also increased and now surpassed Frost's power. As he is pressed into combat, Frost complains, "Damn that angel! Why didn't he warn that these machines could increase his powers?" Frost finally manages to land a hit on the android, but he didn't even move the attack. It retaliated with a much stronger blow to the warrior's abdomen, which spat a handful of blood. After that, the android holds his head with one hand, while in the other he makes a blade appear. His intention is to go through Frost's chest, but as he prepares the attack, Frost yells, "Damn you!" Frost suddenly unleashes a large amount of power, knocking the android away from him. And after doing so, he gains a much more muscular form, a form similar to what Frieza used against Goku and Namek. Not satisfied with using this power, he says, "I didn't want to use this form, so as not to waste too much energy. But now that you forced me to do this, you'll pay." Frost charges at the android and lands a string of hits on him, but when he would land a stronger attack, the machine defends the attack and knocks him back with another attack. Apparently that fight wouldn't be so easy for Frost, even now using more power. Gohan and Piccolo exchange a large amount of blows against the android above the mountain. The android then faced was worth 8,000 points. If they used their maximum power, they could certainly defeat that android easily. But as their goal is to preserve energy, they decided to fight this enemy together, but without using their most powerful forms. So Piccolo fought in base form while Gohan fought in Super Saiyan 2. In a moment, Gohan leaves Piccolo exchanging blows against the machine and moving to his back, prepares a strong punch. Piccolo, taking advantage of this, stretches both arms and wraps them around the android, trapping the android's body from shoulder to ankles, preventing its movement. But to their surprise, one of the android's eyes appears behind its head and fires a laser at it, hitting the Saiyan and pushing it away. And after that, the android makes his leg appear in his face and stretches it until he lands an attack on Piccolo's face, which frees him while he is pushed away. After doing this, the android makes its leg leave its face and return to its original position, just as the eye that was behind its head returns to its original position. Gohan returns to Piccolo's side and says, "It looks like he has the ability to move his own body parts around. What a weird ability." Piccolo adds, "Dealing with it will be a very difficult task, as we can expect an attack from him from almost any direction. Stay alert, Gohan. This fight is going to be tougher than we imagined." Above a large forest, Kaba and Caulifla faced a powerful android. Although they were fighting together, the two Saiyans were at a disadvantage against the machine. That android was worth 10,000 points, and facing him was Caulifla's idea, who made that decision without Kaba's approval. But she was probably already sorry, since even together, they were at a disadvantage against the robot. During the exchange of blows, the android dodges an attack from Kaba and lands a hit on them, and then blocks an attack from Caulifla and lands a hit on her. After that, both Saiyans charge at him, but the android fires an energy attack from each end, hitting both of them and causing them to fall into the forest, destroying a part of the environment. Caulifla returns to the sky, flying towards the android and attacks it with a string of blows. And although the android retreats to defend, it evades the attack with reasonable ease. Kaba, taking advantage of this, comes flying behind the android to try and attack. But when he gets close and is close to landing the blow, the android grows a tail similar to a scorpion's tail. And with its tail, he hits an attack on Kaba, which is launched again against the forest. After doing so, he wraps his tail around Caulifla's neck, suffocating her. Kaba returns again, trying to land an attack on the android so that he frees Caulifla. But when Kaba gets close, the android uses his tail to launch the girl at the boy. Kaba catches Caulifla in his arms, but then both are hit by an android's energy blast, and then both return to the ground, destroying another part of the forest. In another forest region, Kale and Brawly faced two androids. Kale faced an android worth 20,000 points, while Brawly faced an android worth 50,000 points. The Saiyan woman was transformed into a legendary Super Saiyan, while the Saiyan man was in Ikari form. Both had an even fight with the androids. Kale is exchanging blows with one of the androids, but she receives an attack, and after being destabilized by the attack, she receives many more. At one point, she manages to defend one of the attacks, and then she counters with a sequence of blows that also destabilizes him. The android again manages to balance the fight, and both return to exchange blows evenly. Nearby, Brawly and the other android were also exchanging blows, but their fight was even more violent. They clash fists, and only the shock pressure of their attacks colliding creates an impact wave that destroys many trees in the forest below. Brawly lands a hard punch on the android, but then the android also lands a hard punch on Brawly. And then they clash fists again, but this time, the impact makes them both pull away, and they both at the same time fire a huge energy wave. The attacks collide and create a huge explosion across the area, causing great destruction. Inside a large cave, Hit and an android face each other. That android was worth 100,000 points, and from the first few moves during the fight against him, Hit already knew that this fight would be a big challenge. The android charges at the assassin, but before receiving the machine's attack, Hit uses the time skip to attack him first with a string of super fast attacks. After receiving the blows from the Universe 6 fighter, the android again tries to attack him, but Hit again uses the time skip, this time going to the android's back to attempt a killing blow. But this time something different happens. The android simply disappears from his front and appears behind him, hitting the assassin so hard that he goes through all the stones in the cave and stops only in the sky. After receiving the attack, Hit wonders what happened. Was that a teleport? The android, already out of the cave, comes flying towards Hit to attack. The assassin again uses the time skip to attack, but again, the android uses the teleport to dodge and lands a hit on him. After receiving this attack, Hit recognizes that his opponent also has good skills. That's going to be a tough fight. Above a large lake, Vegeta and the android he faced were exchanging blows, an android that was worth 250,000 points. Vegeta, transformed into Super Saiyan Blue, fights the android evenly, both dodging, defending, and landing attacks on each other. Vegeta, while exchanging blows with the machine, says that he is too good for an old can, but he will never be good enough to defeat the great prince of the Saiyans. Vegeta lands a blow that knocks the android away, but he stretches out his arms, grabbing Vegeta's shoulders, and returns to him with a strong headbutt that knocks the Saiyan away. He doesn't let this last blow go unpunished, and fires a wave of energy at the android, which is carried away and explodes along with Vegeta's energy into a mountain that surrounds the lake. Vegeta smiles as he says he might think he's smart, but he's just a stupid machine. But then the man notices something strange. On his shoulders are small robots, which were surely implanted the moment the android touched him, and these small robots self-destruct, causing a huge explosion. After the explosion, he is reasonably injured, but very angry, saying that that idiot robot will pay for it. The android, already recovered from the Saiyan's last attack, returns to continue the fight, and Vegeta also flies towards him to continue. Goku and an android are fighting above the clouds. The machine that Goku faces will give him 300,000 points if defeated. Both fight in balance, but Goku has a slight advantage, managing to hit a few more attacks on the android. But suddenly the machine starts to have the upper hand, managing to dodge and block the Saiyan's blows and counterattack. As he fights, Goku notices that it looks like this android is simply anticipating his attacks. And not only that, the android's movements have become similar to his movements. The android lands an attack on Goku that knocks him away, and after that goes after him to continue the attacks. Goku reacts by launching a Kamehameha at him. The android dodges, and to the Saiyan's surprise, also launches a Kamehameha, which Goku also dodges. After that, Goku realizes that the android is actually copying his techniques, and apparently he can do that with physical attacks and also energy attacks. Realizing this, the mortal reflects within himself. It seems that seeing my techniques and movements once is enough for him to understand everything and learn how to use them. He not only uses my fighting style against me, but he also learns to deal with my style. I need to be very careful how I fight him, because every wasted move will help him improve during the fight. The android tries to pierce Frost with its blades, while the Universe 6 mortal dodges with difficulty, and it is possible to see that despite the effort to dodge the attacks, he has already been hit a few times. As there are some cuts on his body, giving up a melee fight, Frost backs away from the android and fires many energy lasers at him, but the machine, using the blades, reflects Frost's attacks, causing the lasers to come back to him. And Frost has to dodge to not be hit by his own attacks. Seeing that kind of attack would not work, Frost launches a wave of energy at the opponent, but the android, pointing his arm in his direction, shoots the blade from his arm as if it were an arrow, and the blade travels through the sky in towards Frost's energy attack and pierces the energy in half, while continuing towards the warrior, who needs to dodge to avoid being pierced by the blade. But when Frost dodges the attack, the android appears behind him, and with a blade that remains in his arm, slashes through Frost from his back to his chest, causing him great pain. In an unexpected move, Frost grabs the android's blade in his chest with one hand, holding him back. With this smile on his face, the Universe 6 mortal says, "You sure don't know it, but my body is very peculiar, and unless you don't completely destroy me, you probably won't kill me. A perforation to me is meaningless. But can you say the same thing?" Frost places a hand on his abdomen and fires a focused energy attack that goes through his own body, also through the body of the android behind him. After this happens, the machine short-circuits and then explodes. Frost receives a blast on his back and falls from the sky. He lands in an open field and is reasonably injured. Looking at the score in his vision, Frost sees that his total score, taking into account what he just received from the android, is already 62,368. Seeing this, he says to himself, "Well, I think that's enough for me to start taking it easy on the next opponents." Above the mountains, Gohan and Piccolo continue their fight against the android. Piccolo prepares a punch, but before he can reach the android with his punch, he is intercepted by a kick from the machine, which, to the surprise of the Namekian, made his leg appear in his own rib. Gohan takes advantage of the android's distraction with Piccolo and punches him in the face, but the machine makes one hand appear in the middle of the face and holds the Saiyan's hand, and then with the other hand shoots a wave of energy at his abdomen, pushing Gohan away. Piccolo advances against the android again to strike him, but the machine stretches its arm towards the Namekian and punches him in the abdomen, preventing the Universe 7 warrior's advance. But that's what Piccolo wanted, to hold the enemy's arm with his hands, and launches a wave of concentrated energy from his mouth, aiming at the robot's head. But in a curious move, the android retracts its head, letting the attack pass straight through, and then it makes its head appear on its own chest, and also launches a wave of energy at Piccolo, who is hit full by the attack and is launched against him. The mountain rocks. After taking Piccolo down, the machine fires a huge wave of energy at him, a very powerful attack that would certainly seriously injure the Namekian if Gohan didn't put himself in front of his companion, forming a ki shield. And after Gohan does that, Piccolo launches a Masenko at the shield, pushing it towards the android, starting a power struggle that has Gohan's shield as its center. Piccolo and Gohan win the contest, taking the android's attack back to him, and in order not to be destroyed by his own attack, combines the two mortals' attacks. The android simply splits his own body. One half goes to one side and the other half to the other side, letting the energy pass between them. This surprises Gohan and Piccolo, who complain that this thing always has a trick to escape them. But the surprise of the two doesn't stop there, since when the android's body is divided, it doesn't return to normal. On the contrary, each of the halves become an android. That is, now there are two similar enemies. Seeing the score of both androids, Gohan and Piccolo see that they have the same power as the first. This means that there are now two opponents with the same power level as the one they faced before. Faced with this situation, they decide that now they can no longer maintain the tactic of fighting together using little power. Now they have to face the enemies individually, and for that they need more power. Piccolo uses his potential unleashed form, and Gohan uses his ultimate form. Now a one-on-one battle between Gohan and Piccolo and the androids will begin. Kaba and Caulifla are lying in a crater in the middle of the forest. For sure, they open the crater with their own bodies, thrown by the enemy. Both are badly injured and they get up with difficulty. Caulifla, very angry, says that this android is humiliating them. Even though they tried many times, many times, they only managed landing a few hits on him, and their attacks had almost no effect. This is a catastrophe, and it's all Kaba's fault, who is useless. But Kaba replies that he said it was not a good idea to face the android, but she didn't listen to him. She was the one who put them in trouble in the first place. Caulifla lowers her head. She's really frustrated. Since the Tournament of Power, she has trained a lot. But despite her efforts, she can't reach Super Saiyan 3. She's sure that if she reached Super Saiyan 3, she could take the enemy down in 1 second. Kaba, with a comforting smile on his face, says that they Saiyans can always push their limits when facing a powerful enemy. They must keep fighting, and together they will become stronger. Caulifla smiles, saying that she needs to fall a lot to accept motivation from an idiot like him. She doesn't need to hear that. She knows they must keep fighting. Looking at the sky, they notice the android flying down toward them. And then the two again concentrate energy, emanating the electric and flaming aura of Super Saiyan 2. But this time, both are even more motivated. Kale and her opponent continue an intense exchange of extremely fast and powerful blows. The girl realizes that unlike how it was at the beginning of the fight, where the two were in complete balance, she is now at a disadvantage, and she wonders if that android was getting stronger over time. After reflecting for a bit, she realizes that no, he's not getting stronger. She deduces that while she is getting more and more tired of combat, the android seems to keep the same level as when they started, and that's because that machine never gets tired. Because of this, he is starting to gain the upper hand against her. Kale takes a series of hits from the android, but when that happens, the Saiyan becomes enraged, and then counters with a much stronger blow, which sends the machine flying. With a smile on his face, Kale says that even though he doesn't lose energy during battle, and so gives the feeling that he's getting stronger, she's different. As a Saiyan, she can actually become stronger during battle. That is, while his power increase is just an illusion, her power increase is very real. Kale charges at the android with a speed much higher than what she was using during the fight so far. And this surprises the android, who has his chest pierced by the Saiyan girl's fist. Kale removes her arm from the android's body, and he falls from the sky. Nearby, Broly also fights, but unlike Kale, the android isn't able to gain an advantage over time. That's because Broly, while fighting, is adapting faster and faster to the android's fighting style, and his power is also growing. That is, even though the android has infinite energy, Broly is gaining more and more advantage as the fight goes on. During the exchange of blows, the android is at a total disadvantage and receives many attacks from Broly, and seeing that he can no longer maintain a hand-to-hand fight against the Saiyan of Universe 7, the creature moves away from him and, accumulating a large amount of energy, fires an immense wave of ki at him. Broly responds in the same way, also firing an immense wave of ki at the machine, so both attacks violently collide. In a few seconds of dispute, it's already clear which attack is the strongest, as Broly's energy fiercely advances against the android's energy, which at the last moment tries to deflect, but half of his body is completely destroyed by the warrior's attack. Seeing that the android no longer has half of his body, Broly says that he should give up at once. He won't be able to fight anymore. But the Saiyan was very wrong. The android starts to concentrate energy, and the other android that had been defeated by Kale seems to be sucked by him. Both collide their bodies, and at the moment of collision, the bodies seem to fuse, and at that moment, they begin to emanate an absurd amount of energy, which surprises both Broly and Kale. Before long, a new android appears. This one is much bigger and more muscular. Broly and Kale see that the score this android is now worth is 350,000. And if before Kale's opponent was worth 20,000 and Broly's opponent was worth 50,000, this means that this fusion added their power together and multiplied it 5 times. As they face the opponent, Broly and Kale are worried that fight is going to be much harder than they could have imagined. Hit and the android he was fighting fought a super fast battle across the sky. Universe 6's assassin constantly uses his time skip to dodge the android's blows and counterattack, while the android uses his teleport-like ability to also evade Hit's attacks and counterattack. In this way, both fought a fight where no one hits anyone, a speed contest where whoever made a mistake first can be seriously hurt. After so many failed attempts by both of them, the android finally manages to land a hit on the mortal, but that one was just a clone, a residue of the assassin in space-time, and the real Hit appears behind the android to land a hit. But the machine probably already anticipated this move, causing several electrical wires to come out of its back, which get tangled up in Hit's body and severely electrocutes the man. To escape the wires, Hit releases a large amount of energy at once, breaking the wires and getting free. His next move is to step away from the enemy to think for a while. Hit realizes that his enemy had more tricks than teleportation. He needs to be very careful when dealing with him. Before the mortal can even think of what to do, the robot charges at him with a string of attacks. Hit dodges all of the attacks and blows and counterattacks. But when he counterattacks, the robot defends with his arm. And when Hit's hand collides with his arm, he releases some wires to trap Hit's arm and electrocutes him. But the man quickly backs away, narrowly escaping a new electrical discharge. But when Hit walks away, the android teleports to his back and attempts a kick. Hit blocks the kick, but the enemy releases wires from his leg to electrocute the assassin, who again needs to move away quickly to avoid being electrocuted. Hit is worried. He can't even touch the enemy to attack or defend himself. Now, could he win this fight? He needs to think of a strategy, and fast, as he can't escape his opponent forever. But still not tired of surprising the Universe 6 warrior, the android makes a breath towards him, releasing a strong current of frozen air. He quickly dodges, but one of his arms ends up being hit by the icy air current and is frozen in the same second. Looking at that crust of ice formed on his arm, Hit realizes he won't be able to get rid of it that easily. In addition to having the perfect ability to evade Hit's attack and also to defend and attack, apparently the enemy also had the solution in case he kept away and retreating. What to do now? Vegeta also fought hard against his opponent, both exchanging intense blows. In a moment their fists clash, and when this happens, the little explosive robots come out of the android's arm and stick to Vegeta's arm. After that, the android walks away. Vegeta immediately releases a large amount of ki into his arm, knocking the small robots away with the impact of his energy. but still the robot explodes around him, dealing massive damage to the Saiyan. After being hit by these multiple explosions, Vegeta is very stunned and doesn't see the android coming over him. The Saiyan warrior is hit by a top-down blow that launches him into the lake below them. When Vegeta falls into the lake, the android prepares a super energy attack and launches it into the lake. The energy sinks into the water, and then a huge explosion occurs at that location, leaving only a dry crater where that larger lake once existed. At the bottom of that crater was Vegeta, fallen and with many injuries. But despite his injuries, the Saiyan warrior gets up without much difficulty. In fact, Vegeta was feeling his pride much more than his body. He couldn't accept that a stupid robot was giving so much trouble to an elite warrior like him. The hardest thing in that fight wasn't because of the android's power level, because in fact he was matched to the machine in that form. The problem is these annoying robot tricks. He has to think of a way not to get caught up in these stupid tricks anymore. But Vegeta's thoughts are interrupted when several small explosive robots start appearing from the ground like a bunch of worms. The robot implanted these explosives there, completely surrounding the Saiyan. The android is watching the crater. Vegeta was in from the sky, and then a gigantic explosion occurs in that place. All the explosives exploded at once, but the fight isn't over yet. Vegeta appears with an instant transmission behind the android. The Saiyan Prince is furious. He hates using that technique. He says he's going to defeat this pile of junk once and for all, but he's going to do it without increasing his powers. He's not going to let a stupid robot beat the great prince of the Saiyans in combat strategy. He's always been hailed as a great fighting genius, and he won't let a mediocre machine be better than him at this. Goku also fighting a hard combat. He and the android fight intensely, but the problem is that the more they fight, the more the enemy adapts to Goku's fighting style, copying all his moves. The enemy simply figured out how to parry and dodge all of Goku's punches and kicks. He learned the Saiyan fighting style so well that now he has the ability to even predict what Goku would do. And no matter how hard the protagonist tries, it can't surprise the opponent with its movements. Goku is attacked many times by the android and he needs to move away, so he doesn't receive more attacks. As Goku walks away, the robot launches a Kamehameha at him. Goku responds by launching a Kienzan at the technique, and the slashing disc cuts the energy wave in half and heads towards the android, who escapes. But then the android dodges. Goku manipulates the disc to return to the opponent, and seeing the disc return to him, the android also copies the Kienzan, launching his own disc at Goku's disc. When the two Kienzans collide, they destroy each other. But what the android didn't expect is that there was a second disc underneath the one that was destroyed. Goku threw both discs together so that the second one wouldn't be noticed. This second disc passes through the android, cutting off one of his arms. Not satisfied with making a single cut, Goku manipulates the disc to return once more to the android, who uses his other arm to create another disc and launches it at Goku's attack. When the attacks collide, it explodes. But actually, this was the tactic of the Saiyan, who after being hidden from the android's line of sight by the smoke of the attack that collided between them, uses instant transmission and goes to the back of the machine, already with a Kamehameha prepared, and using the Kaioken 10 times, increased with Super Saiyan Blue. While surprising the robot, Goku shouts to the enemy, "Copy that! Kamehameha!" Goku fires a gigantic wave of energy that completely engulfs and shatters the android. When the energy is dissipated, there is nothing else in front of him. Goku smiles. Now his score was 335,000 points. Vegeta lands many blows on the android, carrying him through the sky while attacking him incessantly, until in a moment, one of these small explosive robots comes out of the android and jumps towards Vegeta's face. But the Saiyan immediately reacts by slapping the little robot, which explodes away from them. But that wasn't the only explosive that the android released. In fact, it makes several dozen small explosives come out of its body and jump towards Vegeta, who needs to move away to escape. But unfortunately for the Saiyan of Universe 7, the android can manipulate the robots, guiding them towards the Saiyan, who needs to fly away. Seeing the micro-robots coming towards him as if they were a swarm of bees, Vegeta fires ki balls at them. And as soon as the attacks hit the robots, they explode in large numbers. But there were too many of them, coming like insects towards him. Vegeta continues to run away, but in a moment, he is surrounded by explosives which fly towards him and stick to his body. But when that happens, Vegeta smiles and then he teleports, getting on the android's back and hugging him. Doing so, the Prince of the Saiyans smiles as he says, "How was tasting your own trick?" a huge explosion happens, destroying a huge area around it. After this huge explosion, all that is left in that region is rubble. But from the middle of a pile of rubble on the ground comes Vegeta, who is protected by an aura of energy. Despite that explosion, it is possible to see that Vegeta didn't receive much damage, as there are no considerable injuries on his body. At least no more than the ones he already had before the explosion. A second before the explosion happened, he released a concentrated amount of ki from his body, putting a protective layer of energy between his body and the small robots that were attached on him. So he took minimal damage from the explosions, unlike the android who took all the massive damage from the explosions and was completely destroyed. It was a risky strategy, but in the end it worked. Of course, the fact that he had to use instant transmission again in a battle bothered him a lot, but it would be worse if he was defeated by the stupid robot. Vegeta sees his score, which is now 301,000. He smiles. He's sure he's going to be the highest scoring warrior in this game. Hit from a distance escapes the wave of coal thrown by the android. Universe 6's assassin is in a bad spot as fighting that android up close is very tricky, but so is keeping distance. And to make things worse, one of his arms is frozen. That situation makes Hit a little angry. That fight is already going on much longer than he thought. He didn't want to use too much energy in that fight, so he let it all happen. Sticking to the strategy could lead to his defeat. Hit stops running and concentrates a lot of energy, showing that he will appeal to a much more direct and raw combat. The assassin flies towards the android, which launches several freezing waves at him. Hit doesn't stop. He keeps advancing while dodging attacks. The android changes strategy and makes several electrical wires emerge from his hands, launching them towards Hit, who is not intimidated even for a moment, and continues his advance while dodging the wires passing between them. But when Hit gets close enough to attack, the android controls the wires using telekinetic force, causing all the wires to spin around Hit. The assassin reaches out to land a punch to the enemy's chest, but the android causes the wires around Hit to close the way, trapping the assassin and severely electrocuting him. Hit has his flight stopped when he's only a few meters from the android, and for a few meters, his outstretched arm to punch the robot couldn't hit him. But to the robot's surprise, even with Hit's hand not hitting him, the android's chest is somehow crossed, as if he received a direct and concentrated attack in that region. After this happens, the electricity in the wires stops, and the wires fall apart just as the assassin's frozen arm returns to normal. Hit smiles and says, "You must be wondering how I managed to hit you, right? Well, I used my time jump. But instead of moving my body through time, I moved my energy in a super focused attack directly on your chest. I bet when you saw me concentrating power like that, you could only expect a direct melee attack from me, right? Well, that was the intention. Your mistake was focusing too much on just my body." With his body going into a severe short circuit, the android explodes. Hit sees his current score of 133,840 points. He thinks that's a good number. Broly and Kale faces the android that is the result of the fusion of the two androids they faced before. The android emanates a great amount of energy, which makes both Saiyans worried. Despite everything, Broly and Kale charge forward to attack the android, who also charges at them. An intense exchange of blows begin, but despite fighting together, the Saiyans are cornered. Seeing that the hand-to-hand fight won't work, Broly and Kale walk away at the same time and together launch a powerful energy wave at the enemy, which forms a large energy globe in front of him. The energy globe in front of the android stops the Saiyans' attacks. Then the android launches the globe back at them. Broly and Kale try to hold off the attack, but they can't, and a huge explosion ensues. The two Saiyans fall to the ground. Broly manages to get up. He has clearly been reasonably injured, but Kale is much worse. She has lost her transformation and consciousness. Seeing his friend injured, Broly is filled with rage and begins to emanate a large amount of ki as his pupils begin to dilate. But suddenly, he remembers the moments of the training between him and Vegeta on the planet of Beerus. Training whose objective was precisely to control his powers. Then he remembers when he was about to lose control, and Kale helped him get back to normal. After that, he remembers the fight against Jiren, where he lost control. But he has some memories of the Universe 11 warrior saying some things about controlling his own powers. And finally, he remembers when he lost control because of Derkori's tricks and hurt his companions. Strengthened by all these memories and learnings, Broly begins to exert great strength and concentration to control himself. and as a result of this effort, his pupils return to their place. But he is transformed into a Super Saiyan. He was finally able to control this transformation. Broly looks down at his hands, surprised that so much power is coursing through his body, and he can control it. He looks at the enemy with a serious expression and advances towards him. The android launches several energy balls at the Saiyan, who, putting his arms in front of his face, goes ahead against the attacks, supporting the various explosions until he reaches the enemy with a sequence of blows that stuns the android. With the enemy already stunned, Broly forms a ki ball in each hand and slams it with both hands, together crushing the ki attacks against both sides of the android's face, causing an explosion that leaves the robot even more stunned. He continues the sequence of attacks by opening his mouth, while firing a large energy wave also at the android's face. At the end of his last attack, the machine's head is completely cracked, and to finish his sequence, Broly concentrates energy in one of his hands and lands a strong punch in the middle of the enemy's face, releasing all this large amount of energy at once. After that, the android's head is gone, and the machine falls lifeless from the sky. Broly's score changes in his view to 400,000 points. He reverts to base form and goes to Kale, who is still down. He takes the girl in his arms, but then she wakes up. Glad to see her, well, Broly smiles, and she, realizing they've been victorious, does the same. Kaba and Caulifla, fighting together and with incredible synchronization, put pressure on the android, causing the robot to retreat through the sky, while trying to defend and dodge their attacks. They realize that throughout this difficult fight they're having against the android, they've managed to improve in the fight, and they've not only improved individually, but as a team as well. The two hit a double kick at the robot, knocking the machine away. As they gain space, they concentrate a large amount of power and unleash a large double energy wave at the enemy. The android also responds by launching an energy attack at them, and both attacks collide, but the android's energy has every disadvantage, and the machine quickly loses the contest. Having an entire half of its body destroyed by the Saiyan's attack, Kaba and Caulifla celebrate, but their happiness is short-lived as the robot rebuilds his lost body part. But rebuilding the android's body isn't the only surprise that Universe 6's warriors have. They realize that after the android rebuilds his body, his score has increased from 10,000 points to 12,000 points, which means his power level also increased. Before Kaba and Caulifla manage to assimilate the whole situation, the android launches itself towards them with such great speed that they can only perceive the approach, when the enemy is already hitting Caulifla with a strong punch that launches her very far, making the Saiyan girl crashing hard against the rocks of a mountain far away. Kaba advances towards him and attempts an attack, but the enemy blocks the Saiyan's attack and counterattacks with a blow that launches him into the forest. The android concentrates a large amount of energy and launches it against that region, destroying a huge part of the forest below it. Caulifla emerges from the midst of the rocks she hit, screams for Kaba, fearing that the attack has killed him. She tries to sense her companion's ki, but she can't. The girl fills with fury and releases an immense amount of energy, making the entire region tremble. A globe of energy surrounds the girl, hiding her, and when the globe of energy falls apart, Caulifla is transformed into a Super Saiyan 3. Looking at her own hands, Caulifla is amazed at her own power. She never imagined feeling so much energy going through her body at once, but she also notices that her energy is leaving so fast, she needs to be quick. Looking at the android with a look full of fury, Caulifla says that he will regret what he did to Kaba. She flies towards the android and punishes the enemy with a great string of blows. The android receives all the girl's blows without even being able to react. But after so many attacks, the android finally reacts by trying to hit an attack with its tail on the Saiyan. But Caulifla grabs the tail and launches the android into the sky, and after concentrating a large amount of energy, launches an incredibly powerful attack, which when it hits the android is completely destroyed. After destroying the enemy, Caulifla reverts back to her base form. She closes her eyes, sad, but then Kaba appears behind her, congratulating his companion for finally reaching Super Saiyan 3. Seeing that Kaba was alive, Caulifla is absolutely shocked and asks what happened. Wasn't he dead? Kaba explains that no. At the last moment, before receiving the android's attack, he created an energy shield to protect himself. As the attack was more powerful, it destroyed the shield and the impact made him faint for a short time, but he woke up in time to see the end of the fight. Caulifla hits Kaba, saying he's an idiot for worrying her like that, With a comical expression of pain, Kaba apologizes. He had no intention of causing trouble. Seeing her score after defeating the android, Cauliflower realizes she's reached 90,000 points and asks Kaba's score. He has 86,520 points. The girl brags, saying she's winning. This makes the boy surprised. He didn't know it was a competition. Gohan and Piccolo fight the two twin androids. Piccolo uses his unleashed potential form, and Gohan uses the ultimate form. And unlike when Gohan and Piccolo fought together against the android that was one, now the machines had the disadvantage in the fight. The power level of the two androids is the same as the first android, as is the same number of points, which is 8,000. But when the android was just one, Gohan and Piccolo fought using lesser forms, as they believed they could win using fewer powers if they fought together. Because of this, they were inferior to the power of the android individually. But after the android split his body, they were forced to face two enemies with the same power level. They had to use more powerful forms to not be defeated. And now the androids are at a disadvantage. Gohan, while exchanging blows with the android, presses him, causing the machine to recoil. It doesn't take long for the Saiyan to start hitting attacks, punishing the enemy with many blows. As he does so with a smile on his face, the Universe 7 warrior says that now the power difference between them is too great. No matter what kind of trick he wants to use, he will never win this fight. The android tries to land a punch on Gohan, but he holds the blow with only one hand. And with the other hand, he lands a punch that pierces the robot's abdomen, and he finishes passing through the machine's body with a wave of energy fired by the hand that was inside the creature. After receiving this attack, the android starts to short circuit, and then Gohan launches it into the air, and the machine explodes. After this victory, Gohan sees in his vision his new score of 112,000 points. As he returns to base form, the Saiyan smiles. The score wasn't bad at all. Looking to the side, Gohan sees Piccolo's fight against the other half of the android in the distance. Piccolo and the android exchange blows intensely. And despite having a bit of an advantage against the enemy, Piccolo's advantage isn't as great as the one that Gohan had against his enemy. Piccolo lands a harder blow on the android that knocks him away, and in doing so, the Namekian fires many ki balls surrounding the android with its attacks. Piccolo closes his arms, and all the attacks go towards the android at once, creating a huge explosion. When the smoke created by the explosion clears, it can be seen that the android has shielded itself from those multiple attacks by creating a protective globe of energy around it. But this globe is very cracked. Piccolo, already preparing his second attack, the Makan Kosapo, smiles, saying that he already expected the android to do that. Piccolo fires the Makan Kosapo in the direction of the enemy. The energy laser hits one of the cracks in the shield and goes through both the energy shield and the android's body, which after receiving the attack, explodes. When the android is defeated, Piccolo can see his current score, which is 98,986 points. As he returns to base form, he smiles satisfied. Gohan approaches his friend, saying that they've now got a lot of points. Piccolo agrees, but they still can't relax as they don't know how the others score. But they can at least afford to face slightly less challenging enemies now to save energy. After all these battles, Team 4's warriors gather in the sky. All of them speak for the score that each one has made so far. Frost scored 62,368 points, Kaba scored 86,520 points, Cauliflower scored 90,000 points, Piccolo scored 98,986 points, Gohan scored 112,000 points, Kale scored 114,285 points, Hit scored 133,840 points, Vegeta scored 301,000 points, Goku scored 335,000 points, and Broly scored 400,000 points. Vegeta, after discovering that he was only third in the group scorecard, becomes very angry, telling Broly and Goku that he won't let them beat him like this. Goku is also a little upset. He would like to be number one too. But Broly, unlike the other two, doesn't care about that. In fact, he even thinks he scored enough, and he's no longer looking for stronger androids to fight. The other team members also think this way. From now on, they will only look for weaker androids to score more easily. Vegeta says that they are all idiots who settle for little, but not him. He will be the one who scores the most points at this stage of the tournament. Goku disagrees and says it will be he who scores the most points. Looking at the information present in their view, they both see that 8 minutes have passed since the start of the second stage of the tournament, which means that there are still 52 minutes left to play. They have plenty of time to increase their score. Goku realizes that even though he's been facing powerful enemies, especially his latest opponent, he still hasn't faced the androids worth the maximum score, and this is a fight he surely wants to have. But not only does Goku want to have this fight, Vegeta does too. With that in mind, the two rivals fly away looking for even more powerful enemies to score as many points as they can. Even after facing extremely difficult battles, Goku and Vegeta are not satisfied with the accumulated points and set out in search of even more powerful enemies. Meanwhile, the other participants are also looking for their own ways to score as much as possible. Who will be the one who will qualify for the next stage of the Tournament of Power? Who will be the one who will get the most points? And what challenges will await them among these powerful machines?